In the 40th year of my marriage to Zhuang Dongliang, I passed away suddenly from sheer exhaustion. For 40 years, I cared for my mother-in-law, who was bedridden for 35 of them, and raised my son to adulthood. My final wish was to be laid to rest beside my parents, yet the very next day, my body was donated, without compensation, to the research institute where Zhuang Dongliang's first love worked. Two elderly souls, well past their prime, shared a tender kiss before my withered, unclothed remains. If it weren't for her, we wouldn't have lost all those years. Still, she raised our child all these years and now funds your research. I suppose that counts for something in making amends. It's just a shame the youth we lost can never be reclaimed. Their youth was the very essence of my life. My soul was adrift in agony, and when I opened my eyes again, it was the day the matchmaker came to call. The young Zhuang Dongliang wore a stern expression. As you wish. You will bring your dowry to fund my studies and care for my mother. I'll marry you. It's settled. Hemiao. Once you're married, you must dutifully serve your mother-in-law and take good care of Zhuang Dongliang. After all, Zhuang Dongliang is the only high school graduate in our village. He's bound to be the only university student from here too. Comradely Hemiao, a heavy responsibility rests on your shoulders. Beaming with joy, the matchmaker tightly clasped my hand and Zhuang Dongliang's together. In that clasp, his resistance felt unmistakably real. But, didn't I die? In a panic, I looked around. Reflected in the glass window, amidst the crowd of curious villagers, was a young face. It was me. At 19 years old, I had actually gone back to the day I got engaged to Zhuang Dongliang. You're not very educated. We're not on the same level and have nothing in common. Frankly, you're not a good match for me. The only reason I'm letting you into this family is because you seem decent enough. I have classes in the county town, so after we're married, you'll stay home and look after my mother. She's given all her ration coupons to me, so you'll have to make sure she eats first with whatever food we have. The face of Zhuang Dongliang from my past life and this one overlapped in my mind, his cruel words still ringing in my ears. I jerked my hand back as if I'd been shocked. Who said I'd marry you? The matchmaker was startled when I suddenly pulled my hand away, and she chided me with a playful scold. Oh my, the bride is getting shy now. All the villagers gathered in the house and courtyard burst into laughter, teasing me all at once. You were always running over to the Zhuang family's place, and now that you're about to marry into it, how come you're suddenly bashful? Exactly, it's a new era now. No one will laugh at you for choosing who you love. He's the only educated man in our whole village, and you managed to snag him. Hemiao, you're one lucky girl. In my past life, I fell into the water and Zhuang Dongliang saved me. Deeply grateful for his life-saving grace, I did everything I could to repay him. I would give the pastries from the state-run store, the ones I couldn't bear to eat myself, packet by packet to Zhuang's mother. I used the fabric ration coupons I got to have new clothes made for Zhuang Dongliang. While I wore patched-up coarse cloth, Mrs. Zhuang saw that I was a diligent worker, had a gentle temperament, and was an orphan girl who came with her own dowry. She demanded that I repay the debt with my hand in marriage to her son, Zhuang Dongliang. My dear child, my Dongliang caught a fever from the cold saving you. He's even missed several days of school. Besides, everyone knows he revived you mouth to mouth. If you don't marry Dongliang, no one else will have you. An unmarried girl staying at home forever. Your parents would be restless in their graves. With a mix of coaxing and intimidation, I stumbled into the Zhuang family's grasp before I even understood what marriage truly was. After 40 years of toiling like a beast of burden, all I reaped was betrayal and mockery. Since fate has granted me another chance, I will not make the same mistakes again. My mother says you should pack your things and come with me today. I have to go to school and don't have time for a wedding banquet. Just as in my past life, Zhuang Dongliang showed no patience, hastily calling on the villagers to help move the dowry. When my parents were alive, they were hardworking and diligent, leaving behind a considerable family fortune. Later, relying on my dowry, the impoverished Zhuang Dongliang was able to finish high school, get into university, and after graduation, he was arranged a position in a government office where his career took off, with everyone bustling about to help carry the belongings. In my past life, I just muddled my way into the Zhuang household like that. There wasn't even a wedding, let alone a single celebratory character in sight. I always thought Zhuang Dongliang was just a clueless, unromantic man, but the very second month after my death, he threw a lavish, high-profile wedding to marry Sun Yuling. He personally designed every detail of the ceremony and was even moved to tears several times. In the old days, marriage was just about finding someone to get by with. It was a bland experience, no matter who you ended up with. But now, having married Yuling today, I finally understand what it means to find happiness, even if it came late. In this lifetime, I will never stand in the way of his happiness again. Seeing everyone about to start moving the things, I hurriedly spoke up to stop them. Stop, put it all down. The crowd looked at me, bewildered, and Zhuang Dongliang grew even more impatient. Enough, Li Hemiao, you just want to haul everything out, piece by piece, to show off how much dowry you have, don't you? We're all working people. You're just living off your parents' blood and sweat. What is there to boast about? As if I married you for your dowry, let me tell you. If it weren't for you and my mother pestering me relentlessly, I'd never have married an illiterate like you. The brand new army green trousers that Zhuang Dongliang had his hands stuffed in were made by me. I spent a fortune on the fabric and stayed up all night sewing them by lamplight. It was the same in my past life, using my things and then cursing me. If there's any progress to speak of in this second chance at life, it's that I carry the experience of 40 years of being made a fool. I'm no longer that timidly Hemiao from my past life. Seeing Zhuang Dongliang's chin held high, I too lifted my head and crossed my arms. You won't marry me. Well, I won't marry you either. As my words hung in the air, everyone froze in place. After all, in my past life, I really did spend all my time at the Zhuang family's house, and with Mrs. Zhuang's gossipy exaggerations, everyone in the village knew I was desperately chasing and had latched onto Zhuang Dongliang. Matchmakers were practically wearing out the doorsteps of my peers, but I was left untouched because I was spoken for. Now, I firmly pressed down the chair that had been lifted and cleared my throat. Comrade Zhuang Dongliang, the reason I used to go to your house to help out was that I was grateful you saved me. Later, your mother said your family was so poor you couldn't afford tuition, and asked me to use my dowry to fund your education. I reluctantly agreed. And that was only to repay a debt of gratitude. But now, since you think I'm not good enough for you and look down on my dowry, it's just as well. I won't be clinging to your lofty branch any longer. From now on, you go your way and I'll go mine. We'll keep to our own sides and leave each other in peace. My voice rang out clear and bright. Paying no mind to Zhuang Dongliang's darkening expression, I kept my hands in a salute to the crowd. My apologies to all my neighbors. I've made you all go to so much trouble for nothing today. I, Li Hemiao, feel terrible about it. I'm going to buy some meat and stew a dish right now. Please, everyone, come over for dinner tonight. Consider it a celebration of my new beginning. And if there are any hard-working, self-reliant gentlemen out there, I'd appreciate it if you aunties could keep me in mind. I deliberately emphasized the words self-reliant and shot a glare at Zhuang Dongliang. I've always had a free-spirited nature. In my past life, I became timid and submissive only because Zhuang Dongliang's constant belittling wore down my self-esteem, but now I'm determined to pull myself out of this mire. In this lifetime, Zhuang Dongliang can forget about spouting his nonsense in front of me. While everyone was still waiting to see what Zhuang Dongliang would do, I had already swiftly shown him the door. What took me by surprise was that Zhuang Dongliang suddenly flew into a rage. Li Hemiao, what kind of game are you playing? How could you possibly not want to marry me? I curled my lip at him. What makes you such a prize catch? You're as scrawny as a baby chick. At this time, Zhuang Dongliang hadn't yet risen to a high position. He was merely a frail scholar who relied on others for support. Amidst the jeering laughter, Zhuang Dongliang's face flushed crimson. Li Hemiao, stop acting so high and mighty. You were even willing to give me your kidney. He stopped abruptly. And a jolt of shock ran through me. In my past life, when Zhuang Dongliang was diagnosed with kidney disease, transplant technology was still rudimentary, yet, after a successful match, I donated my kidney to him without a second thought. After the surgery, he ignored his own health and cared for Zhuang Dongliang at his bedside day and night. Having lost a kidney and toiling away constantly, he wore himself down and developed a chronic illness. How does he know about this already? Seeing the sudden evasiveness in his eyes, a bold suspicion surged within me. Zhuang Dongliang had been reborn too. My fists clenched involuntarily. How dare he try to drag me down into the muck with him? What did you just say? I pretended not to have heard him clearly. What? Are you going back on your grand promises now? Changed your mind about marrying me? Zhuang Dongliang stared at me, his face once again brimming with arrogance. Humph, so that's the game you're playing. Advancing by retreating, you're desperate to marry me but don't want to seem like you're throwing yourself at me, so you're trying to provoke me with this tactic. I can't believe you'd stoop so low. Li Hemiao, let me make this clear right now. Don't expect me to back down. If you want this marriage, you'd better yield now. Once I walk out that door, even if you get on your knees and kowtow, I won't. Before Zhuang Dongliang could finish his sentence, I chased him out of the courtyard with a broom. What is this filth doing here? Get out. As he left, Zhuang Dongliang was seething with rage, grinding his teeth. Fine, Li Hemiao, you made this choice yourself. Just you wait until I'm rich and successful, with a beauty by my side, you'll be crying with regret so hard you won't even know the tune. That evening, I hosted a feast at home with 8 tables to properly thank the folks from my village. My parents passed away early and didn't leave me any siblings, so I've always had to rely on the villagers for help with big and small matters. During the feast, a close sister friend of mine tried to talk some sense into me. Hemiao, I know Xuan Dongliang has a bit of a temper, but he's one of the few promising young men from all the villages around here. He might really get into university and make something of himself one day. Don't let a moment's anger lead you down the wrong path. You've made your scene and vented your anger. If that's not enough, we can go with you later to apologize to Auntie Zhuang. I've heard there's a nice girl at Zhuang Dongliang's school. It was the same in my past life. I gave half my life to the Zhuang family, yet in the end, everyone said I was just lucky to have chosen the right man. The wine in my mouth tasted all the more bitter. I'd rather stay single for the rest of my life than marry Zhuang Dongliang. I swallowed a mouthful of wine. This time, I'm going to live for myself. The lively meal was interrupted as the door was flung open with force. A girl with no father or mother has no manners. I'm not even here yet, and you started the feast. Madame Zhuang swept into the room, putting on the same grand airs as she had in her past life. The moment she walked in, she stole the spotlight, greeting everyone as if she were the hostess. Today is a joyous occasion for the Zhuang family. Please eat and drink to your heart's content. If there's not enough food or drink, just let us know and we'll bring more. Our Zhuang family, a scholarly household, holds propriety in the highest regard. It's my own failure that I brought such an ill-mannered daughter-in-law into the family. I apologize for the embarrassment. Zhuang's father was originally the village accountant. He stole some liquor, got drunk, and died in the granary. Yet his wife spun the story, calling it a sacrifice. That mouth of hers has always twisted the truth. Now she was yelling at the top of her lungs. Hemiao, I gave you money to host everyone. How could you be so greedy as to start eating without even calling me when the feast was ready? Once you're part of the Zhuang family, you're not a child anymore. If you keep being this greedy, people will laugh at you, whispering sweet nothings in my ear again. And I used to think you were a sensible girl. How did you learn to act so foolishly? I'll let it slide since it's your first offense. Come back with me later. Apologize to Don Leon, kneel and serve me tea, and I'll still consider you my Zhuang family daughter-in-law, or I'll make sure you never get married. Seeing me frozen in place, she slapped me hard on the back. Are you deaf when your elders are speaking? Get up this instant. How dare the bride sit down before the guests have finished eating? With that, she snatched the wine glass from my hand. My son is studying to become a high official someday. Alcohol dulls the mind, so he can't drink. Let me, on behalf of the Zhuang family, have this toast with all of you. My apologies for the poor hospitality, my humble apologies. This turn of events left everyone stunned, so it was Auntie Zhuang who paid. And Hemiao who did the work. That kid should have said so earlier. After that scene this morning, I really thought Hemiao was calling off the wedding. Turns out she just wanted to make herself look good. Hemiao, that's not right of you. Hurry up and offer your mother-in-law a seat. In my past life, when I married into the Zhuang family, we didn't even hold a banquet. Yet Mother Zhuang went around collecting congratulatory money from everyone. The next day, Zhuang Dongliang left early to return to school in the county town. I was left alone, running around and using my own dowry to prepare a feast of thanks. When the meal was served, Mother Zhuang, with just a few words, took all the credit. The men were given cigarettes, and the women and children had their pockets stuffed with melon seeds and candy. The whole village sang Zhuang Dongliang's praises. I threw a banquet to uphold the Zhuang family's reputation. But Mother Zhuang begrudged the expense and scolded me for spending money without permission. Then, under the pretext of thanking guests for their monetary gifts, she made me kneel at the entrance, kowtowing to everyone who came and went, without letting me eat. A pillar of a man has gold under his knees. It's a wife's duty to kowtow on her husband's behalf, obeying your mother-in-law and revering your husband as heaven. That's the rule of our Zhuang family. The next day, my knees were so swollen they looked like I was balancing 2 brown sugar buns on them, yet I still had to work in the fields and manage the household chores. All of my dowry had been taken by Mother Zhuang under the guise of safekeeping. Even when I was pregnant and craved an egg, she scolded me for being greedy. With all the old grievances and new resentments, what made me wish I could tear her to pieces more than anything was that in my past life, she was the one who killed my child. In her middle age, Mrs. Zhuang was particularly sharp-tongued and had a fiery temper. In the 5th year of my marriage to Zhuang Dongliang, she suffered a cerebral hemorrhage and was bedridden for over 30 years. Later, As Zhuang Dongliang's career soared, he thought me useless on several occasions and wanted a divorce. It was Mrs. Zhuang who insisted on keeping me. I was the one who brought Hemiao into this family. You were always busy with work, all these years. It was Hemiao who kept me company. As long as I draw breath, you will not send Hemiao away. Back then, I thought Mrs. Zhuang was all bark and no bite. For over 30 years, I tended to her every need, right until the very end, but on her deathbed, she sent me away and took Xuan Dongliang and Sun Yuling's hands. I failed you, my children. I was the one who insisted Dongliang marry Li Hemiao, but I had no other choice. If it weren't for the dowry Li Hemiao brought, how could we have afforded to send you both to university? And then it was my own fault. I became bedridden. I couldn't bear to see you suffer. So I let Li Hemiao occupy the position of the Zhuang family's daughter-in-law for 40 years. For the sake of me swapping my own grandson with that worthless girl Li Hemiao gave birth to, please forgive your mother. Returning with the chicken soup, I saw with my own eyes Madame Zhuang pulling the son I had raised close, telling him to call Sun Yuling mother. It was only then that I realized the child Madame Zhuang took from me at birth should have been a daughter. My poor daughter, only 1 day old in this world, was thrown to the wolves in the back hills by her own grandmother. I rushed in to confront Mrs. Zhuang, but she had already breathed her last. I wanted to call the police, but Zhuang Dongliang slapped me across the face. Li Hemiao, you drove my mother to her death, and now you're playing the victim. Already frail and now overcome with rage, I collapsed to the ground and never got up again. Seeing your enemy makes the blood boil. Yet, Mrs. Zhuang still had the nerve to put on airs as my mother-in-law in front of me. I snatched the wine cup back and smashed it on the floor. Auntie Zhuang, have you run out of rice and come here to spout nonsense out of hunger? Well, I'm not her Zhuang family's daughter-in-law anymore. Auntie Zhuang, everyone knows you're a devoted mother. You even gave your own ration coupons to Zhuang Dongliang, so where are you supposed to pull ration coupons from now to host a banquet? It was only after I pointed it out that the villagers realized the truth. Mrs. Zhuang, craving a good reputation, had been telling everyone in person how hard it was for a widow like her to raise a child all by herself. What does it matter if an old woman like me eats or not? But we can't let my son, a pillar of the nation, go hungry. I exposed Mother Zhuang's lie and sneered, if you're just feeling peckish and wanted to come over for a bite of meat, you could have just told me. No one would have laughed at you. This was the first time I had confronted Mother Zhuang. She was stunned and instinctively raised her hand to hit me. But then, glancing at the onlookers, her eyes darted around. She let out a wail and plopped down on the ground. What a wretched fate is mine. My new daughter-in-law dares to curse me the moment she steps into this house. Neighbors, I ask you to judge this fairly. My son risked his life to save an ungrateful wretch, to be talked back to by a mere slip of a girl at my age. I have no face left to live. She suddenly rammed her head into my stomach, the impact churning my guts and leaving me winded. In my past life, when Mother Zhuang was bedridden, she'd douse me with water if it was too hot or too cold. Or simply if she was in a foul mood, but I'm not putting up with her nonsense this time. I drove my knee hard into Mother Zhuang's nose. She instantly let go of me, clutching her gushing nose and howling in pain. Zhuang Dongliang, who had just walked in, witnessed the scene. He strode over and slapped me to the ground. You uncouth brute, how dare you raise a hand to your own mother-in-law? Heaven will strike you down for this. I spat a mouthful of bloody saliva in his face. Zhuang Dongliang, don't you dare live in your fool's paradise. I'd rather die an old maid than ever marry you. You're ruining my reputation. I'll have you charged as a pervert. Mrs. Zhuang wiped the blood from her nose, her eyes filled with malice. Fine, Li Hemiao, you brought this on yourself. How dare you spit on my kindness? Today, I'll show everyone what a cheap slut you really are. Neighbors, out of respect for Li Hemiao, I held my tongue before, but the truth is, on the day my son saved her, she had just been fooling around with some man in the wild fields. She was so worn out from the act that her legs gave way and she slipped into the river. Li Hemiao is nothing but a filthy whore. Like a thunderclap from a clear sky, the wave of gossip instantly swallowed me whole. In every era, a woman's chastity is the ultimate weapon used against her. A single rumor can be spun from nothing, yet I have no way to prove my innocence. In this life and the last, that Zhuang woman and her son have sought my death. I wiped the blood from my lips and fixed my gaze on Zhuang Dongliang's eyes. Zhuang Dongliang, for heaven's sake, what really happened when I fell in the water? Do you dare tell everyone the truth? The sisters all started chattering at once. Dongliang, is what your mother said true? This is a matter of life and death for a woman. Don't let a moment's anger ruin Hemiao's entire life. Zhuang Dongliang looked guilty for a moment under my stare, but he gritted his teeth and said, Li Hemiao, you deserve this, but if you're truly repentant, I'm willing to see this through to the end and take you in, you good for nothing. People saw the complex look in his eyes, a mix of sympathy and respect. Mrs. Zhuang curled her lip in disdain. Eat your fill, everyone. Then help us carry the dowry. And I ask you all to keep an eye on that shameless tramp, Li Hemiao. From now on, make sure she doesn't try to fool around with other men while my son is away. Zhuang Donliang came over and grabbed my wrist. Li Hemiao, I'm willing to give you one more chance to turn your life around. At that very moment, the quiet sound of tires crunching over the ground broke the silence. A beam of headlights flooded my small courtyard. I let out a cold laugh. But you won't get the chance. An army green truck pulled up in front of my house, and several agile female soldiers jumped out. Stepping out of the passenger seat was Guzi, a 13-year-old boy from the same village. Sister Hemiao, I didn't hold you up, did I? I shoved a big handful of candy into his hand and gave him a thumbs up. You're a godsend. Those female soldiers quickly recognized me as well. Comrade, it's so good to see you're alright. The villagers were bewildered. But Zhuang Dongliang turned pale and began muttering to himself. No, it can't be. How could she have known? He hurried over, trying to pull me aside. Hemiao, I agree, let's get married. I'll marry you, right now, this very moment. Before I could say a word, a female soldier had already pushed him aside. Comrade, how dare you lay hands on a female comrade? Huh, it's you. Wasn't the person we rescued the other day handed over to you? As my sisters looked on in confusion, I finally told them the truth. The one who saved me was never Zhuang Donliang, but a group of female soldiers who happened to be passing by, and I only learned this truth after my death. Back when I was preparing the feast, I used my memories from a past life to have Ergo deliver a letter for me. The letter explained my situation, and I hoped they could come to help clear my name. The army camp was right in the town. The women soldiers set off immediately upon receiving the message and arrived just in time. That day, we were on a mission and happened to rescue Comrade Li Hemiao. However, we couldn't delay our task. By chance, this male comrade passed by and said he was from Comrade Li's village, so we entrusted her to his care. This caused another huge uproar. So it was the women soldiers who saved Hemiao. Zhuang Dongliang. How dare you claim you were the one who saved her? Zhuang Dongliang stammered. And his mother quickly stepped in front of the crowd. Even if these girls fished her out of the water, without my Dongliang giving her mouth to mouth, Li Hemiao would have suffocated for sure. You all saw with your own eyes that my son saved Hemiao. The villagers were puzzled again, because when they heard Zhuang Dongliang's cries for help and rushed over, they had indeed seen him rescuing me. A female soldier frowned in confusion. That can't be right. When we handed her over, we had already performed chest compressions to expel the water Comrade Hemiao had inhaled. Artificial respiration is completely unnecessary now. Mother Zhuang shot them a dismissive glance. What do you silly girls know? My son is a university student. The female soldiers immediately produced their identification. We may not be college students, but we are medics. We've fought for lives on the battlefield. You think we can't recognize a drowning man? I stared at Zhuang Dongliang, who didn't dare look up. Zhuang Dongliang, it was a female soldier who saved me, yet you had the nerve to claim you were my savior. He even took the chance to grope me. He ruined my reputation right in front of everyone. You're using a favor to pressure me into marrying you. What are you really after, Mrs. Zhuang quickly shielded Zhuang Dongliang behind her. She stiffened her neck, about to speak, but was cut off by a female soldier. I knew I saw it right. She's the one who pushed her. The female soldier grabbed Mrs. Zhuang's wrist. I saw it from the vehicle that day. Comrade Li Hemiao was pushed into the river. It was you. That's the exact same outfit you were wearing that day. Now it was Mrs. Zhuang's turn to be terrified. She covered her face and shrank back into the crowd. It wasn't me. You're talking nonsense. You're slandering an innocent person. I'm going to speak to your supervisor. She thought the female soldiers would be afraid, but to her surprise, they agreed without hesitation. Fine, let's go. We'll go with you to the police station and sort this out. At that moment, someone from the crowd of villagers stepped forward. On the day the rice seedlings fell into the water, I definitely saw Sister Zhuang in the area, so it really was this exact outfit. I remember it too. When Zhuang Donliang called everyone over, Auntie Zhuang was wearing this very dress. If the female soldier comrade hadn't seen it with her own eyes, how could she be so certain it was this one? Now the whole truth is out. My falling into the water was a setup by the Zhuang mother and son from the very beginning, all to make me owe them a life debt. I slapped Zhuang Donliang hard across the face. Take that, you shameless scoundrel. The furious sisters swarmed forward, and while Mrs. Zhuang shielded her son as they fled in panic, she still managed to hurl a final threat. You ungrateful little wretch. You should count yourself lucky for generations that we're letting you into this family. Just wait until my son makes it big, you'll be sick with regret. Without my tuition money this time around, let's see how Xuan Dongliang is going to climb the ladder to success. Early the next morning, I packed my bags and headed to the village entrance. In my past life, I wasted my entire existence with the Xuan family, constantly berated as a freeloader. Even though I never had much schooling, I'd always managed to scrape by doing odd jobs for myself, right up until I drowned. In my past life, I spent all my dowry supporting Xuan Dongliang. Now, I'm going to use it to open a small shop. When the female soldiers heard about my plan yesterday, they praised me for being bold and decisive. They even promised to ask their superior for permission to pick me up on their way to the county today. While waiting for the ride, I ran into the Xuan mother and son, along with Sun Yuling sitting on the back of Xuan Dongliang's bicycle. Just my luck to bump into them. The three of them looked at me, each with their own ulterior motives. Xuan's mother had somehow managed to borrow the tuition money, and she made a point of taking it out of her packed bag and stuffing it back in right in front of me. Some people, they think the whole world revolves around them. Mark my words, a pillar of society like my son will always find patrons and supporters wherever he goes. An uncultured, rotten egg like her, trying to climb above her station to reach my son, she should take a good, hard look in the mirror and see if she's even worthy. Too little, too late. You show up with your bags now that you're sorry. From behind the car seat, Sun Yuling deliberately wrapped her arms around Xuan Dongliang's waist and leaned forward to look at me. Her eyes held the same arrogant disdain as in our past life. So you're Li Hemiao, the little seedling that grows in the dirt. Your parents must be illiterate, otherwise how could they give you such a name? In my past life. It was also the day after marrying Xuan Dongliang that Sun Yuling came to our door to find him so they could go to school together. When she saw me, Sun Yuling looked at me the way a young lady from the old society would look at a servant girl. So you're Li Hemiao, the one who's been shamelessly clinging to A Zhuang. You've got that high-altitude flush on your cheeks when Xuan Dongliang bought me snow cream. Didn't he get one for you, just like now? She was wearing the most fashionable dacron, her braided pigtail glossy and jet black, while I was still smudged with the grime from cooking breakfast, my head wrapped in the blue scarf old Mrs. Zhuang had given me. I, like an ugly duckling seeing a swan for the first time, my voice unconsciously grew quieter. Of course I know about the vanishing cream, Xuan Dongliang said. His hands were chapped from the cold in the winter classroom, so I walked 40 li just to bring it to him. Before I could get a word out, Xuan Dongliang came out and cut me off. What could you possibly have to talk about with a housewife like her? What would she even understand? It's like casting pearls before swine. Get in the car. Sun Yuling hopped nimbly onto the bicycle's rear rack, and the lunchbox I had so carefully packed before dawn was shoved into her hands by Xuan Dongliang. There's a fried egg with sugar sprinkled on it. Just how you like it. They were so open and unashamed that my anger just made me seem petty and small-minded. For the next 40 years, under the guise of being old classmates and close friends, they trampled on my dignity, time and time again. I was just about to fire back a retort when a chattering crowd of village sisters swarmed up behind me. Each of them carried luggage, all of them stirred by my encouragement yesterday to follow me to the city and seek their fortune. Everyone had heard Sun Yuling's words, and one by one, they stepped up to defend me. Oh, you've had an education, all right, too bad it all went to the dogs. Did your parents never teach you how to speak like a decent human being? Oh, my, look how tightly she's clinging to that man's waist. Don't you worry, people don't fight dogs for scraps. Sun Yuling's face flushed crimson with rage. Why, you're so vulgar. You're just jealous of me and Dongliang's bright future. Unlike you lot, destined to grub in the dirt your whole lives. I cut her off directly. The chairman taught us that all revolutionary work is equally honorable. The laboring masses are the most glorious. Are you questioning the chairman's words? Sun Yuling was left speechless and trembling. You're just bitter because Dongliang dumped you, so young, and all you think about is romance. With people like you, when will our country ever achieve prosperity? Hearing this, the sisters all started chattering at once. How dare you sling mud at other people? My cousin works at the department store counter. She saw you two holding hands while shopping with her own eyes. My second uncle saw you two when he was showing the open-air movie at the county high school, hiding in a corner, whispering to each other. Ugh, I'm too embarrassed to even say it. Back then, Auntie Zhuang was telling everyone in the village that our Hemiao was her Zhuang family's future daughter-in-law. So what does that make you, homewrecker? You should be ashamed of yourself. Sun Yuling anxiously tugged at Xuan Dongliang's sleeve. Dongliang, say something. Xuan Dongliang propped up his bike and pulled me aside. Hemiao, you've lived a whole lifetime before, haven't you? His eyes were urgent, waiting for a positive answer. Unless I had lived a past life, how else could Li Hemiao, once so easily manipulated by him, have suddenly become a completely different person? I stared into those anxious eyes. A smirk playing at the corner of my mouth. Zhuang Dongliang, you must be starving out of your mind, lived a whole life. What kind of nonsense are you spouting? We have absolutely no relationship now. Keep your hands to yourself. I wrenched my wrist free from Zhuang Dongliang's grasp. My miserable past life was Zhuang Dongliang's masterpiece, and I will never let him look at me in this life with that same smug satisfaction. I want him to know that Li Hemiao, at 19 years old, looks down on him. Zhuang Dongliang, from the bottom of her heart. Zhuang Dongliang's expression was wounded by the answer, but he soon let out a cold snort. Fine then, Li Hemiao, it serves you right that you'll never have the good fortune to be an official's wife in this lifetime. From now on, I'll walk my broad, sunny road, and you can cross your rickety, single-plank bridge. We're even, we owe each other nothing. Li Hemiao, mark my words, I'm only going to get better and better. He was convinced that with the experience from his past life, he was destined for even greater success and prosperity in this one. But how could they possibly be even, with no debts between them? He still hadn't repaid the debts from his previous life. As Zhuang Dongliang was about to ride off with Sun Yuling, I stepped forward and blocked the front of their bicycle. Li Hemiao, even if you regret it now, there's no way I could ever. I cut off his shameless tirade. The car. Give it back. I bought that bicycle for Zhuang Dongliang in the past. It's not just the bike. I want every single thing of mine back. No way you're getting it back, Mrs. Zhuang immediately shoved me. You were the one who pestered us and insisted on giving that to our Dongliang. How shameless can you be, trying to take back a gift? I yanked the bike toward me with such force that Sun Yuling, who was sitting on the back, was thrown right off. You had no shame taking my things. How is it shameful for me to take back what's mine? Sisters, come with me to the Zhuang house. Let's get our stuff back to boost our shop's capital. With that, I shoved Zhuang Dongliang aside, hopped on the bike first, and rammed right through the Zhuang family's gate. The other women got to work. Some hauled out the sewing machine, others grabbed towels and soap, and a few headed to the kitchen for rice, flour, and cooking oil. Seeing her home being ransacked, Mrs. Zhuang let out a shriek and rushed to stop them, only to get her face scratched to ribbons by one of the sisters-in-law in the scuffle. You're the one who stirred up trouble last time, putting ideas in my mother-in-law's head, you old hag. Can't you ever shut your mouth? Sun Yuling was already pale with fright, trembling as she hid behind Zhuang Dongliang, who had initially protested that a real man doesn't fight women, was called a heartless scoundrel and roughed up by the sisters. After taking a few punches, he scrambled off to fetch the village chief. Chief, these women are trying to cut off our village's path to a bright future. Destroying my home is like destroying society's future. Mrs. Zhuang wailed, her face buried in her hands, tears and snot streaming down her cheeks as she pointed a trembling finger at me and spat out her venom. That damned little slut, just because my son wouldn't have her. She's held a grudge and brought people here to kill an old woman like me. My life doesn't matter, but my son is a future college student. He's going to be a high official one day. Village chief, you must see that justice is done for us. Zhuang Dongliang glared at me, his teeth clenched in fury. Li Hemiao, you legal ignoramus. Do you even understand that stealing is a crime that lands you in jail, and the rest of you, you'll all be sharing a cell with her? Zhuang Dongliang looked utterly smug. Li Hemiao, we're through. Today, you either get on your knees and apologize, or you can look forward to a jail cell. Yet, I didn't show the fear he expected. A debt must be paid, that's the law of nature. I'm only taking what's rightfully mine. Madame Zhuang stamped her foot and spat in disgust. Bullshit. You think you can just claim it's yours? What proof do you have? If it's in my house, it's mine. Meanwhile, Sun Yuling, having regained her nerve, spoke in a shrill, affected voice. No one is above the law. We're going to report this to the police right now. Li Hemiao, it'll be too late for you to claim ignorance of the law and just play the shrew then. The village chief, a cigarette tucked behind his ear, frowned at me. Hemiao, can you prove these things are yours? If you can't prove it, then inciting a mob is a crime, I said coldly. Of course, when I pulled a stack of IOUs from my chest, Zhuang Dongliang's face turned ashen. I knew you hadn't thrown them away, Li Hemiao. You only got close to me because you were banking on my future success. Your true colors are finally showing. To save face in front of me, Zhuang Dongliang would always put on a show of tossing me an IOU after hinting around for things he wanted. Not just anyone is worthy of holding an IOU from the Zhuang family. When I make it big one day, these IOUs will be worth enough to buy your whole life, twice over, every time I took one of those IOUs. I'd just toss it aside right away to spare Zhuang Dongliang the embarrassment. Let's not talk about debts. I would quietly retrieve them later, not because I had any grand ambitions for my future. It was because, in my past life, I foolishly believed that buying my whole life was a rare and precious declaration of love. I treasured these IOUs like love letters, keeping them safe in a drawer at home, staring at the IOU he had written with his own hand. Zhuang Dongliang had no choice but to accept it, no matter how furious he was. His mother was about to make a scene, but I cut her off with a single line, so even an educated person welches on a debt that successfully shut her up. The commotion my sisters and I made while moving my things roused the entire village, drawing a huge crowd of onlookers, watching us clear out the place like a flowing stream. Many people clicked their tongues in astonishment. So all the Zhuang family's possessions were actually bought by Hemiao. Meanwhile, Sun Yuling, looking puzzled, tugged at Zhuang Dongliang's arm. Dongliang, what on earth is going on here? Didn't you say your family had a vast ancestral fortune in her previous life? It wasn't until Mother Zhuang passed away that Sun Yuling discovered the Zhuang family had been living off her dowry all along. By then, Zhuang Dongliang had already achieved fame and success, and the couple faced no financial pressure whatsoever. But now, faced with the Zhuang family's utter destitution, Sun Yuling clearly couldn't accept it. No matter how Zhuang Dongliang tried to convince her that he would surely get into university and become a high-ranking official, Sun Yuling simply wouldn't believe him. As the two of them were caught up in their tug-of-war, the situation was broken by the voices of several men. Yuling, didn't you say the Zhuang family was well off? They're this poor. How are they supposed to come up with the money for your brother's bride price? Sun Yuling's face instantly drained of all color when she saw who had arrived. Dad, what are you doing here? While we were moving the things earlier, I had asked a friend to go to the neighboring village to fetch Sun Yuling's father. Sun Yuling, who usually carried herself with the grace of a swan in public, was slapped across the face by her father. Useless girl. All you do is paint your face all day, talking about how many promising men there are at the high school, and in the end, you're fooling around with some penniless nobody. I'll beat the life out of you, you good for nothing. Sun Yuling was dragged out by her hair by her father. When Zhuang Dongliang tried to intervene, he was immediately knocked to the ground with a few punches from men from the neighboring village. Not a penny to your name. And you think you can get a wife? And you call yourself educated? Pa. Zhuang Dongliang's face was livid, staring at the house, now stripped back to its bare, impoverished state. He fixed me with a bloodshot, venomous glare. Li Hemiao, you blind, stupid woman, the day will come when you'll be on your knees begging me. I just stared at him coldly, pointing at Zhuang Dongliang's brand new olive green trousers. Take them off. I bought the fabric and sewed those trousers myself. I'd rather take them back to cut them up, burn them, or throw them away than leave them for a beast. Zhuang Dongliang's face flushed a deep crimson, whether from anger or shame was impossible to tell. Li Hemiao, how dare you ask a strange man to take his clothes off in broad daylight? You have absolutely no shame. Your head is full of nothing but filth and depravity. A shameless hussy like you ought to be arrested and shot. He probably forgot his own disgraceful past life when he said that love and intimacy are meant to be enduring. But in my past life, whenever I tried to get close to Zhuang Dongliang, he would point his finger at me and berate me. Do you have any idea how much effort the country puts into nurturing a university student? Do you know how precious my experience is? My energy is meant to be poured into building our motherland, not wasted on the worthless flesh of a housewife like you. He scolded me with such self-righteous indignation, as if I were a rat exposed in broad daylight, utterly repulsive, right there in front of my own corpse. The 60-year-old Zhuang Dongliang was toiling away on top of Li Lingyu, sweating profusely. One moment he was nibbling at her peaks, calling her darling, and the next she was throwing her head back, crying out big brother. Their constantly shifting positions and repeated shudders are still vivid in my mind, utterly nauseating. Staring at the brazen man before me, I suppressed my disgust and let out a cold laugh. Stop throwing around execution this and execution that. Do you own the police force or something? You didn't even have the decency to feel ashamed when you said all your classmates had army green pants and demanded I make you a pair. So, asking for my own things back makes me a hooligan. I raised my voice, making sure every single villager present could hear me loud and clear. Zhuang Dongliang. You look down on me with one breath, yet you're always trying to take advantage of me with the next. A hypocrite who bites the hand that feeds him. That's what's truly shameless. After the previous confrontations, Zhuang Dongliang's reputation in the village had already hit rock bottom. Now, the crowd gathered around, jeering and mocking him incessantly. Zhuang Dongliang, so it was you who had the gall to ask for things from others, and you call yourself an educated man. Since when do educated men go around asking young women for green army trousers? Amidst the uproarious laughter of the crowd, Zhuang Dongliang's face turned beet red. In a fit of humiliation, he actually yanked off his pants and shoes, revealing the patched, red and green long johns underneath. Zhuang Dongliang hurled the pants and rubber shoes at me, stubbornly insisting, "Who wants your worthless trash, Li Hemiao? Let me tell you, you're merely the bare minimum in my choice of a spouse." While I am destined to be the unattainable mountain you can never match, I paid no mind to his hysterical shouting, simply let out a derisive snort and walked away. I opened a small shop near the county high school, bringing goods from the south to sell up north. On opening day, old lady Zhuang came to make a scene, calling me a parasite of socialism, until an officer told her, "Ma'am, the country is reforming and opening up now. We encourage private business. If you keep causing trouble here, we'll have no choice but to take you in, Mrs." Zhuang stomped off, her hips swaying with indignation. "You shameless hussy, flaunting yourself on the street. What decent man would ever want you? Don't you come crying and begging for my son later. It'll be too late then. Just wait until my son gets into university." While Zhuang's mother was still lost in her daydreams, a police car roared up to the school. Following the officers out was son's father, who started shouting at the top of his lungs the moment his feet hit the ground, "You got my daughter pregnant, Zhuang Dongliang. I'm here to have you arrested, you filthy scoundrel." In her past life, it was also at this time that Sun Yuzhen discovered she was pregnant. During that period, Zhuang Dongliang came home frequently to be with me. He used my money to buy the Sun family's silence, which kept the whole affair from blowing up. Now that the money's gone, the Sun family is naturally not going to let this slide. I looked at Zhuang's mother with a smile. "Oh dear, looks like your son will have to take his college entrance exams from behind bars." As my sisters and I were each cracking sunflower seeds, Zhuang Dongliang was forced into the car with his hands pinned behind his back, followed by his wailing mother. "That tramp Sun Yuling seduced my son. My son was going to take the college entrance exam." Sun's father kicked Zhuang's mother twice in the head. "You old hag, shut your mouth." Auntie Zhuang lay on the ground, clutching her head and looking in my direction with a pained expression. "He meow, I'm dizzy. Be a good child and come help your auntie up. Looks like the stroke from my past life decided to come early this time." Listening to Mrs. Zhuang's pleas, I felt nothing. I just spat out the sunflower seed shell from my lips. "You will all pay for my daughter's life." To everyone's surprise, Zhuang Dongliang was released again, and even ended up marrying Sun Yuling. Due to Sun Yuling's health condition, an abortion wasn't possible, and the Sun family didn't want two more mouths to feed. The Sun family insisted on a 50 yuan bride price, threatening that even if they had to beat Sun Yuzhen to death, they would see Zhuang Dongliang sent to prison. Bedridden and incontinent, Zhuang's mother lay on the Kong, while Zhuang Dongliang desperately tried to borrow money, only to be cornered at his doorstep by debt collectors. It turned out that to save face and scrape together Zhuang Dongliang's tuition, his mother had mortgaged their house. "The only reason I'm lending you this money is because I believe you can get into university. The news about you getting that girl pregnant at school has already spread everywhere. The school expelled you. If we don't take the house now, we'll be left with a bad debt." The Zhang family and the creditors were hounding him relentlessly, and Zhuang Dongliang was so stressed he had blisters all over his mouth. He even had the nerve to ask me for a loan. My shop was doing booming business. I had no time for him. He just kept squatting by the entrance, waiting for me to close up, watching me count the bills one by one. Zhuang Dongliang couldn't hide the disappointment in his eyes. He thought, "Why didn't I have this much drive in my last life? But I always did. It's just that the road is clear of those damn stumbling blocks now." "Meow, for old time's sake, please give me a hand. Look at all the money you have. I only need half of it." The money in my hand. Yang, I do have money, but why on earth should I lend it to you?" Zhuang Dongliang's breath reeked of foul heat. Not a trace of the refined scholar's handsomeness remained. He looked like a desperate gambler at the end of his rope. "Listen, Meow, if you just agree to lend me the money, I'll marry you. You have no idea, but I do. If I can just get through this immediate crisis, I swear I'll get into university. My future is wide open. I'm destined for great things. I swear to heaven." With that, he dropped to his knees before me, raising 3 fingers to the sky. From the cloudless expanse, a sudden clap of thunder rang out. I sneered at Zhuang Dongliang, who looked like he was about to piss his pants in fear. "See that? Even heaven can't stand to watch the wicked things you've done." I patted his cheek with the stack of cash. "Stop dreaming, Zhuang Dongliang. There's no university, no high position waiting for you. All you have is a pregnant woman and a mother paralyzed in bed. Zhuang Dongliang, this is your fate." As I spared him and walked away, the sound of Zhuang Dongliang's bitter, resentful weeping followed me. Zhuang Dongliang still married Sun Yuling. Their house was seized by creditors. He sold all the ancestral land passed down through generations, and the family of 3 ended up homeless on the streets, eventually taking shelter in a half-collapsed house in the village. Zhuang Dongliang was useless at manual labor. At first, his pride wouldn't let him stoop so low. But watching his old mother on the brink of starvation, he was finally screamed out of the house by a hysterical Sun Yuzhen to go beg for food. As he approached my shop, Zhuang Dongliang's face was etched with the weariness of a hard life. He wore a faint, ingratiating smile as he tried to straighten his grimy clothes. "Bossly, I heard from the folks in the village that you've opened a new branch. Look, I've got nothing better to do anyway, and I'm good with numbers. I can keep your books. Pay me whatever you think is fair, and that house of yours in the village, sitting empty with no one in it, I could have my mother and my wife go keep an eye on it for you. Besides, if you didn't go to school and can't figure the accounts yourself, you really shouldn't trust the books to just anyone. All the girls I started out with are living the high life now. Get lost, you filthy beggar. Don't make us late for night school." I walked away without so much as a glance at Zhuang Dongliang. The next we heard of Zhuang Dongliang, he had gone mad. After a quarrel with his wife, Zhuang Dongliang stabbed her to death. He even dragged out the unborn child and hacked it to a bloody pulp. He slit his own mother's throat too, and as he was cutting his own throat, he kept muttering something about wanting a do-over. Oh, right. He also said something about doing it all over again to marry you. Meow. How does a perfectly fine person just go mad like that? Watching the villagers click their tongues, I shook my head with a light chuckle. My new shop opens today. Eat and drink to your heart's content. Let's not bring up such gloomy talk. Glasses clinked together, and I wondered if Zhuang Dongliang would ever get another chance. All I know is that in this lifetime, I will live each day to the fullest, and I will be happy. Story 2. The Crown Prince of the capital's elite circle has a thing for women with bound feet, slender waists, pale delicate skin, and a pregnant glow. My sister, a celebrity, was desperate to catch his eye. She considered bone contouring, liposuction, whitening injections, and even IVF. I tried to talk her out of ruining her health. Then, in a turn of events, he publicly announced his relationship with a plastic surgery disaster. My sister is convinced I ruined her dream of marrying into a wealthy family. She even incited her fans' emotions, leading to a cyberbullying campaign that drove me to my death. When I opened my eyes again, my sister asked me, Meng, I'm thinking of using the money from selling the car and house for plastic surgery. What do you think? I replied, of course, go for it, sis, give it your all to marry the crown prince, you'll definitely be happy. But after she actually went through plastic surgery and married the crown prince, she regretted it. Want to have eyes like Crystal Lu's. Want to have a nose like Zhao Liying's, dreaming of lips like Dilraba's. Come to Liren Cosmetic Hospital, where we'll craft the perfect, stunning face just for you. Envious of Yang Mi's slender waist, jealous of Jing Tian's flawless complexion, longing for Guan Xiaodong's petite feet, come to Liren Cosmetic Hospital. We have everything you dream of. The television was playing an advertisement for a cosmetic surgery hospital. On screen, a tech wizard used AI to merge the stunning facial features and figures of several female celebrities into a single composite person. The result was nothing short of divine, like a goddess descended from heaven. Right after that ad, an interview popped up featuring Lu Tingchen, the so-called crown prince of the capital's elite circle, discussing plastic surgery faces. The crown prince said, I'm not against plastic surgery. In fact, I admire women who are willing to put in the effort and bear the cost to become more beautiful. As a man, I can't help but be drawn to women with petite feet, slender waists, and that delicate, youthful, pale, young, and thin aesthetic. If a woman were to make such changes for me, I would be genuinely touched, the reporter asked. It said that Mr. Lu has stored his genetic material at Liren Hospital. What was the intention behind this? Lu Tingchen smiled faintly. I have great respect for women and their reproductive rights. I find myself utterly drawn to women who have the autonomy to steer their own lives. Perhaps I, too, am waiting for my own true love. The commercial ended. Her sister, Xiao Qingying, couldn't tear her eyes away from the TV screen for the longest time. It was a long moment before she finally turned her head to look at me. She said, Meng, I think this is my chance to marry into a wealthy family. I want to get plastic surgery and do IVF. I want to marry the crown prince. In my past life, my sister had said the exact same thing to me. Back then, I thought everything on TV was just advertising hype. A young master with money, power, and good looks. How could he possibly be interested in a woman who's had work done from head to toe? I advised her, the risks of cosmetic surgery and IVF are too high. You'd be better off putting your money in a savings plan or making some small investments. Focus on building a good life for yourself, work steadily in the entertainment industry to carve out your own space, and earn your own loyal fans. That's the right path." She agreed with what I said. That's when I gave up on the idea of plastic surgery, but when the young master actually married a D-list influencer who was head-to-toe science and hard work, my sister completely lost it again. She even went so far as to spread lies, accusing me of inciting fan sentiment, which led to me being cyberbullied to death. "Wasn't it you who told me to skillfully leverage fan emotions to solidify my position in the entertainment industry? You're my sister and my agent. What's the big deal about sacrificing a little for me? Besides, you owe me this much." Xiao Qingmeng. If you hadn't stopped me from going to Liren plastic surgery back then, Lu Tingchen would have fallen in love with me. I would have been the one to marry the heir. You ruined my dream of marrying into a wealthy family. You destroyed my chance to become a rich man's wife. At that time, Xiao Qingying was already a C-list actress with millions of fans. Her career path wasn't exactly paved with gold, but it was smooth sailing. Her personal assets weren't in the billions, but they certainly amounted to tens of millions. Yet she's still coveting the title of the young master's wife. Can't she see that the young master is only marrying that plastic surgery addict to expand his business empire? 2. The scene of Xiao Qingying tearfully complaining to her fans in the livestream, accusing me of forcing her to attend that drinking party, is still vivid in my mind. The images of fans photoshopping my pictures into obscene collages, funeral altars, and defamatory slogans are seared into my mind. I lived in constant fear, day and night, in a state worse than death. Extreme fans broke into my home and assaulted me. I was splashed with paint on the street, and on multiple occasions, I narrowly escaped being hit by a car, all because of Xiao Qingying's lies. I have become a social pariah, a cancer on society. The searing pain of the blade slicing my wrist is still vivid in my memory. I can never forget the icy chill as my lifeblood drained away, and all around me, Xiao Qingying's beautiful eyes were fixed on me. She said the same thing she had in her past life. "Meng Meng, I want to use the money from selling my car and apartment to get plastic surgery. What do you think?" "Sure, absolutely, of course, someone's determined to rot and stink. Why should I bother meddling?" Seeing me nod, my sister's expression faltered slightly, a hint of surprise crossing her face. She pursed her lips and continued, "Well, since I'm aiming for the crown prince, to really up my chances, I want to go all in. Bone contouring, cosmetic surgery, liposuction, IVF, the whole package. I'm worried the money from selling my car and apartment won't be enough." "Meng Meng, do you think you could?" I knew exactly what she was thinking. She wanted me to chip in, but she seemed to have forgotten. All these years, I've been acting as her agent for free. I'm completely broke. So, before she could even finish, I cut her off. "Sis, getting a loan is easy these days. However much you need, it's just a phone call away. They'll send someone right over for one-on-one service. And the money hits your account in an instant." Her face froze. Then, with a gentle expression, she said to me, "I'm a public figure. If my fans found out I took out a loan for plastic surgery, they'd definitely look down on me. Meng Meng, my dear Meng Meng, please take out the loan for me. As soon as I marry Lu Tingchen, I'll pay you back every penny with interest." I smiled faintly and said, "Lenders require proof of income and a credit check. Someone with no credit history like me wouldn't get approved for tens of thousands." She looked hesitant. I said bluntly, "Sis, it's common knowledge that young Master Lu Tingchen has a thing for women with petite feet, slender waists, fair skin, and a delicate, youthful look. The whole pale, young, and thin aesthetic. Countless women are vying for his attention. If you don't go all in and take a chance, you really don't stand a chance of marrying him. I don't have any good advice on this matter. You should decide for yourself." "Sis," she gritted her teeth, yet her gaze grew resolute. "You don't need to give me advice either. I'm definitely going to get plastic surgery at any cost, to become the kind of petite, slender, fair-skinned, and delicate pregnant woman that Lu Tingchen likes." A faint smile touched my lips as I replied, "In that case, you probably won't be able to take on any scripts or commercial activities for a while. The company has been talking about grooming new talent lately, so I plan to accept their arrangement to mentor some newcomers." She frowned, her demeanor towards me turning even colder. "I knew you were shallow, but I never thought you'd be this shallow. You won't even stay with me during my cosmetic surgery recovery." I said helplessly, "Sis, you went behind my back and signed a contract with the company giving your agent zero commission. I've been working for you for free all these years. You should be grateful. Now you want to get cosmetic surgery and stop working. You at least have savings to live on. but if I don't work, the company won't pay me a cent. I can't exactly sleep on the street and live on fresh air, can I? I turned my gaze to her. Or, if you're willing to cover my rent and living expenses, I suppose I could be your caretaker. She was left speechless. When she spoke again, her voice dripped with sarcasm. Fine. I won't stand in the way of the big shot agent's success. As I was leaving, she still couldn't resist taking a jab at me. If the company hadn't valued me so highly back then, you never would have gotten your foot in the door here. When you drink the water, remember the spring. You're the very picture of ingratitude. No wonder our parents never liked you, even as a child. Who could possibly like someone with your character? Yeah, they always favored my sister over me, right from the start. So when my sister drove me to severe depression and I turned to my parents for help, they simply turned a blind eye and abandoned me. They even used me as a stepping stone to build up my sister's reputation. Xiao Qingming is nothing but a despicable person. We are ashamed to have a daughter like you. If I could, I wish I had never given birth to her. I turned and looked at my sister. I said calmly, you're right, sis. If your fans found out you took out a loan for plastic surgery, they'd definitely unfollow. Why don't you try asking mom and dad? They have property and cars in their names, and since they're both in the system, it's usually easier to get a low-interest loan. They dote on you so much, they'd probably agree. She paused, and her eyes lit up. 3. Her parents sold the house and the car. She came to the city with her savings. My sister liquidated all her assets and, along with our parents' money, poured everything into the Liren Plastic Surgery Hospital. My mother stayed by my sister's side day and night. My father, meanwhile, squeezed into a rented apartment with me. My father couldn't understand my sister's decision to get plastic surgery. She's always complaining in my ear. A wide jaw can be shaved, thin lips can get fillers, small eyes can get double eyelid surgery. Thick waist and legs can be liposuctioned, skin can be whitened with injections, and curves can be enhanced with implants. I get it. Women want to look good, but tiny feet, what the hell? The doctor said size 35 feet can only be achieved by removing toe bones. Your sister has completely lost her mind, and on top of that, as an unmarried woman, to assert her reproductive autonomy, she actually wants IVF. And she's specifically demanding to have the child of that so-called crown prince of the Beijing social scene. The real kicker is, the hospital actually agreed to all her demands, over 10 million. Who knows when your sister will ever earn that back? My dad just sighed and sighed, yet, every day without fail, he'd dutifully go to the market to buy ingredients and make soup. He'd send the very best of what he made straight to the hospital. They didn't even leave a single drop of soup for me. Your sister has made such a huge sacrifice for this family. Don't you dare even think about taking her share of the soup. I don't mean to be harsh, but look at you, a young woman who doesn't bother to tidy up or dress nicely, can't even afford a single lipstick. When your sister makes it big someday, don't go trying to latch onto her wealth. You wouldn't want her in-laws to look down on her because of you. I shot back at my dad. What if I make it big one day? He scoffed. Impossible. You're too dim and foolish to ever amount to anything. Even if you did somehow strike it rich, we'd want no part of it. You go your way, and we'll go ours. I glanced at the security camera mounted on the wall and decided not to say another word. My sister requested a 6-month leave of absence from the company. Furthermore, she personally signed a new talent named Sun Hao. She also charted a career path for him. The company used her proposal to craft a clumsy cute persona specifically for Sun Hao. Leveraging this persona, Sun Hao debuted quickly and garnered a solid fanbase. As a result, the company's trust in her grew significantly. She subsequently signed a new batch of talent. She also established a very clear persona and standard for this new group, even without a concrete plan. This cohort successfully debuted and generated solid revenue for the company. This allowed my sister, who hadn't worked for 6 months, to receive a handsome bonus by spotting the talent. As for me, I was fired by the company just as my sister was raking it in. When Dad moved out, he didn't hold back on his sarcastic remarks toward me. It's all thanks to your sister that your mother and I can live comfortably now. You weren't willing to help when your sister needed care after her cosmetic surgery, so don't expect to ride on her coattails now. When your sister marries into a wealthy family, don't you dare come crawling back to claim kinship. I watched as my father got into my sister's luxury car. My sister and mother were in the car, and they wouldn't even roll down the window to say hello. I smiled, a sense of acceptance washing over me. I turned and walked into a nearby lottery shop. I bought the ticket with the numbers etched in my memory. Wait until the evening for the draw. Just as I expected, this number won 1 million. After taxes, I ended up with about 800,000. I had it all figured out the moment my sister signed Sun Hao. The truth was, she had been reborn too. That's how she managed to pinpoint that group of newcomers who would gain traction a few years down the line. She intended to squeeze every last drop of value out of that batch of rookies. She knew full well that Lu Tingchen would inevitably fall for a woman with dainty feet, a slender waist, a fair and delicate complexion, and a pregnant glow, so he was bound to visit Liren Plastic Surgery Hospital. But with so many people opting for cosmetic procedures, to stand out from the crowd, she would need something truly unique to offer. Becoming a rising star entrepreneur, poised for a modest breakthrough, would surely align much better with the crown prince of Beijing's elite circle's expectations for an independent woman than remaining a D-list internet celebrity. My sister's thinking was correct. Her approach was also correct. But her original intention was flawed, from beginning to end. Everything she did was about relying on a man. Can you really count on a man, especially one who's always pushing you to get plastic surgery or try IVF? The Lu family of the Beijing social circle owns countless businesses, but after weathering the tides of time, their most profitable venture turned out to be the Liren chain of hospitals, which combines cosmetic medicine and IVF treatments, to secure the Lu family standing in the capital's elite circles. Lu Tingchen willingly used himself as a marketing tool, driving massive traffic to Liren chain. You probably didn't even notice, sister, but after Lu Tingchen publicly described his ideal partner, Liren's stock soared to unprecedented heights, and all this, for the upcoming valuation adjustment mechanism agreement. They would start with emotional topics. A plastic surgery addict who came with built-in buzz and delivered themselves right to his doorstep was, of course, his best option. 4. When Lu Tingchen and his sister made their relationship public, I registered a film and television company and took with me Su Liang, the obscure little nobody who had been following me for the past 6 months. Su Liang, true to her name, after 2 years in the industry, her career was stone cold, all because of her rural background. It was also due to her deep-seated insecurity, and more so because she refused to play by the unwritten rules. She never really got a fair shot. I first met Su Liang in my previous life, when I visited a severe depression treatment center. We became each other's lifeline because we were around the same age and had similar life experiences. She told me she dropped out of middle school to work and pay for her brother's tuition, and I confided that I had always been a stepping stone for my older sister. She talked about how all the money she'd earned over the years went to her family. And I admitted that I had never received a single bonus or commission since I started working. During that time, we spent our days trying to one-up each other on who had it worse. It was around that time we found companions to escape the misery with. Originally, if we had just pushed a little harder, we could have reached the light again. We made a plan to go see a movie on a snowy day. We made a promise to get that strawberry ice cream cake after the movie, the one we never got to have as kids. After the cake, we were going to give each other new names and start our lives over, but look how that turned out. My sister did it all for the clicks and the buzz. They even went so far as to track down Su Liang's parents and younger brother. They pressured Su Liang's family to cooperate with her sister's publicity stunt. The relentless torrent of abuse became the final straw that broke Su Liang. Su Liang threw herself into the sea. I slit my wrist, and so ends this lamentable life. I just bought the rights to this script. I'm going to direct it myself, and I've decided you'll be the lead. I handed the newly purchased script to Su Liang. Su Liang froze for a moment. After a quick glance at the script's title, her brow furrowed. She asked, "How much did you pay for this script?" I replied calmly, 500,000. Su Liang's face darkened. Are you insane? You only won 800,000 from the lottery total. You spent 500,000 on a script, leaving you with just 300,000. You want to produce a show yourself. What on earth can you possibly make with just 300,000? I took a deep breath and said, if you want to make a name for yourself, this is probably the only way. I know all the TV shows and movies that are going to be huge hits in the next few years, but my sister is fully aware of this too. With her current influence and Lu Tingchen's backing, there's no way I can secure any of these hit projects for Su Liang. So, now, I have to rely solely on my own discerning eye as an agent to pick the best scripts from among those past productions that never blew up but had all the makings of a blockbuster. Su Liang said, "Go get a refund." I shook my head. The money's already been paid. Su Liang pressed her lips together, looking as if she had a strong urge to strangle me. In a huff, she snatched the script from my hand and pulled out a card. I'll read the script. Here's 200,000. Make it last. If we lose money, don't take it too hard. If it comes to it, we'll find a village. I'll farm the land and provide for you. I couldn't understand where Su Liang, who had been exploited by her parents and brother all along, got the 200,000 from, but it was undeniable that, because of this 200,000, a major problem for this self-produced drama was solved. while Lu Tingchen was presenting Xiao Qingying with a 20-carat diamond ring. Su Liang and I were taking on multiple roles on set just to save a few bucks, while Lu Tingchen was escorting Xiao Qingying to all the major business galas. Su Liang and I could only afford a single bowl of plain noodles at the all-you-can-eat noodle joint. On the day the film wrapped, Su Liang and I had just 20 yuan left in our pockets. My stomach was already growling with hunger, yet, Su Liang still suggested we go buy a strawberry ice cream cake. I looked at her calm, composed expression. Without a second thought, I walked into the cake shop with her. On the small cake sat only half a strawberry. She divided the cake in two with a little plastic fork. She then asked the server for another small plate and slid half over to me. She said, "We've done everything we possibly could. Now, whatever the outcome, we have to accept it. I'll go find a part-time job tomorrow. You focus on promoting this series. I'll be the one supporting us. Eat well and live well." Got it. At that moment, my eyes welled up with tears. Now I understand where Su Liang's 200,000 came from. It was a desperate act of self-preservation, a rebellion against 2 decades of injustice by someone suffering from severe depression. I don't know the exact moment of Su Liang's rebirth, but I am certain of one thing. The reason this version of Su Liang chose to stay here, she accompanied me through the filming of this series. From the very beginning, her only goal was to redeem me. She wanted to help me fulfill my dream. She wanted to help me find the courage to live again. Xiao Qingmeng, it's snowing. Su Liang's voice was cool and detached. I looked up. Flakes of snow were falling outside the window. 5. My leading lady was handing out flyers at the mall. Daydreaming about adding an extra egg to the noodle she'd cook for me that night, dressed to the nines, I was shuttling between major film studios, pitching the exquisite promotional materials I'd burned countless all-nighters to create, and my sister, she had already rocketed from a third-tier actress to become the undisputed queen of cosmetic surgery, the talk of the town. Every public spat she had with Lu Tingchen, every time they were spotted entering or leaving a hotel, would dominate the front pages the very same day. Their on-again, off-again saga was woven into the fabric of the overwhelming barrage of cosmetic surgery advertisements. This continued until her sister successfully conceived Lu Tingchen's child through IVF. After 3 months of a Cold War, the couple's reconciliation of the century was sealed by the powerful young scion's forceful marriage proposal. The stock price of Liren Cosmetic Surgery Hospital chain has hit an all-time high, however. Xiao Qingying's face, which was full of cosmetic procedures, was visibly deteriorating. Everyone has a desire for beauty. I'm deeply moved that Ying was willing to change for me. I love Ying, and I love our child. Of course, I would never let her or the baby come to any harm. Liren Hospital uses the world's latest technology, so it's completely safe, even for pregnant women. True beauty requires long-term dedication, and consistent aesthetic treatments are the secret to maintaining it. I hope every girl can become the best version of herself, promoting the pale, young, and thin beauty standard, encouraging women to conform to the male gaze. Under the guise of self-actualization and self-improvement, they emotionally manipulate women worldwide. Lu Tingchen's move here is truly cunning. It's also utterly despicable. Lu Tingchen and Xiao Qingying are misleading women's perception of beauty. I believe a girl's beauty comes in many forms. She can have dark skin, small eyes, or a strong, athletic build. There is no single standard for beauty. The elderly woman donating to children in mountain regions is beautiful. The teacher standing at the podium is beautiful. The traffic police officer directing traffic is beautiful. A kind heart is beautiful. Serving the people is beautiful. Dedication to one's work is beautiful. Our film tells the story of Su Su, a small-town girl who navigates the materialistic whirlwind of the big city with a clear head and independent drive. Her journey of repeatedly questioning and ultimately accepting herself mirrors the experiences of countless women. Perhaps, through this series, I hope to convey to all women that love is not the sole purpose of life. For a woman to live a better life, she must first learn to love herself. I was running around everywhere. Finally, on one particular night, the distribution contract was signed, a pure revenue-sharing deal, a 20% share of ad-click revenue, a visibly bleak outlook. Su Liang was already prepared to farm and support us. I, however, told her not to rush, just wait a little longer, time will tell. Su Liang agreed without a word of complaint. Meanwhile, I quietly handled the publicity, posting on major traffic platforms in a desperate attempt to give the show even the slightest boost through audience engagement. It was the 6th month since Su Liang had been taking care of me. A video I edited and posted on a short-form video platform went viral. That day, it hit a staggering 100 million views. It got 1 million likes. The comments have surpassed 50,000. As a result, the the show was pushed to the top of the trending charts. Su Liang, the female lead, was recognized while handing out flyers on the street. Fans swarmed in. Su Liang was so frightened that she fled in a panic. 6. Lu Tingchen is a master at manipulating online traffic. He exploits women's innate desire for beauty, leveraging his own and his partner's influence to persuade inexperienced young women to invest their entire savings into cosmetic procedures. He wasn't satisfied with just making money off young women, so he urged his partner to continue with various cosmetic procedures during her pregnancy. You can imagine how that went, her upcoming breastfeeding period, postpartum confinement, and the years following childbirth will likely revolve around cosmetic treatments as well. I heard Xiao Qingying is expecting a baby girl. Who knows if Lu Tingchen will spare his own daughter, subjecting an infant in swaddling clothes to cosmetic procedures from such a young age. After all, doing so would allow his cosmetic business to cover women of all age groups. He certainly got it all figured out. Opinions on this vary widely online. Only Xiao Qingying remained lost in the beautiful fairy tale spun for her by the so-called crown prince of the Beijing social scene. During her pregnancy, she received numerous injections of hyaluronic acid and hormonal drugs. By the second trimester, she was informed by doctors that the fetus had severe abnormalities. In the third trimester, Lu Tingchen insisted on Xiao Qingying having a C-section, and then publicly showcased the scar of the Great Mother, an ugly scar. It was Lu Tingchen who deliberately instructed the doctor to suture it that way, all for the sake of better promoting the upcoming scar removal project at the Liren chain of hospitals. My baby was stillborn. The child died when I was 5 months pregnant, but the doctor never told me. The entire Liren chain of hospitals belongs to Lu Tingchen. To cover it up, Lu Tingchen brought in a healthy baby girl from outside. He planned to subject the child to cosmetic surgery once she had developed her basic features. He wasn't afraid the child might die from the procedures because he had the power to cover up the whole thing. There have been many botched cases at Liren plastic surgery, but Lu Tingchen has sued every single one of those women, accusing them of trespassing and making baseless slanderous claims. Meng, please help me. I can't go back on the operating table. I can't stand the pain of the scalpel cutting into my skin anymore. I can't even control my bladder or bowels now. I was wrong. Please, save me. The star-studded gala. Just as I was accompanying Su Liang to accept her Best New Artist award, Xiao Qingying found me backstage. All thanks to that show's explosive popularity, Su Liang became a red-hot star, and I became a wildly successful agent. With countless resources at my fingertips, the moment Xiao Qingying laid eyes on me, she was filled with shock and resentment, and beneath that resentment was pure, unadulterated envy. Swallowing her jealousy, she put on a pitiful act once more. The details of her situation were already all over the internet. She didn't even need to say a word. It was simply because there was no concrete evidence. Everything remained shrouded in mist. How can I help you, sis? I asked. My sister grabbed my hand. Her face, unnaturally plump with a plastic-like tautness, was set in a pout as her full lips moved. Help me make a comeback. I know you have a film with a top director. It's going to be a massive hit. This year's box office champion. Make me the lead. Once I'm back on top, I can leave Lu Tingchen for good. Once I make it big, you'll be my agent for life. For every dollar I earn, I'll give you a 10% cut. No, make that 20%. Her face was full of hope, but her large eyes, which had been wounded by life's knives time and again, had lost all their sparkle. All that remained was a weary exhaustion that seemed to hang on her gaunt frame. I asked calmly, is it really necessary to make a comeback in film and television? Lu Tingchen doesn't seem to have restricted your freedom. Those newcomers you signed with your previous agency should still be making money for you. You're not short on cash or freedom, so why put yourself through the ordeal of acting? She completely broke down and started sobbing. Lu Tingchen hasn't restricted my freedom, but if I don't cooperate with his plastic surgery demands or advertising campaigns, he freezes my credit cards so I can't spend a single cent. Going under the knife is worse than death. And those rookies I signed back then, ever since they found out I was taking 95% of their commissions, they've all demanded to terminate their contracts with the company. They'd rather risk being blacklisted than compromise. These people are utterly ungrateful. If I hadn't spotted their potential back then, how could they possibly have reached their current status? Now, to appease them, the company not only broke the contract but also kicked me out. I'm penniless now, surviving on nothing but my parents' pension. Meng, you're my own sister. You can't just abandon me. I let out a light, scornful laugh. Sister, huh? It's a wonder you even remember I'm your sister. She thought I didn't know. She was the one who deliberately got me fired from the company. She was the one who blocked my drama from being released on all the major platforms. and she was the one who hired that army of trolls to flood Su Liang's drama with negative reviews. Back then, she was already living the high life, yet she still didn't hesitate to drive me into a corner. Now, she's fallen into the gutter. It would be a disservice to her if I didn't kick her while she's down. 7. I gave my sister the famous director's contact information. I got her an audition. After the audition, she asked the director if she could be the lead actress and even invited him to a private dinner. The renowned director politely declined her, citing work commitments. The director then came to find me and asked what I meant by it. I told you. This series was tailor-made for Su Liang. She is the only one who can play the female lead. Fine, you won't give me Su Liang, but what's with that walking disaster who showed up today thinking she could have the role? Do you really think her plastic surgery face can hold up under my high-definition lenses? Director Zhang, I had no choice. You know as well as I do that walking disaster is my sister. She wants to make a comeback and has her sights set on your film. I thought if I sent her to you, you'd give her a reality check. I never expected you to become so accommodating. Just a moment ago, Xiao Qingying called me to say Director Zhang was very pleased with her audition and is planning to sign a management contract with me. Director Zhang was taken aback. TSK, it was only out of respect for you that I've been so tolerant of Xiao Qingying, so, it seems my forbearance was misplaced. I sighed. That's my fault for not giving you a heads up. I really don't know how to make my sister, who loves to kick people when they're down, see some sense. Director Zhang snorted. Alright, I get your meaning, don't worry, I'll handle this for you. The next day, Director Zhang began the promotional campaign for his upcoming film. He also released audition clips featuring several actors, among them was one starring Xiao Qingying. With that plastic face of hers, her entire silicone-filled body jiggled as she ran. When she laughed and cried, her features all scrunched up together, yet not a single tear was shed when delivering her lines. It was as if she had no teeth, accompanied by a constant, wheezing lisp. The internet immediately erupted in a wave of collective mockery. Oh my god, after seeing all those heavily edited photos, I really thought she was a goddess. No wonder she hasn't been in any movies lately. Her own mother wouldn't recognize that face. Only someone as blind as Lu Tingchen would still think Xiao Qingying is the most beautiful woman. A word of warning to all the girls getting cosmetic surgery to look like Xiao Qingying. You might end up looking like a monster. Once upon a time, Lu Tingchen controlled a prime source of traffic and advertising resources. He molded Xiao Qingying into the quintessential plastic surgery template. All negative online comments were scrubbed clean by Lu Tingchen. But there's always a river separating the advertising world from the film and television industry, for Lu Tingchen to reach across. It would take considerable effort. Moreover, this director Zhang was never an easy mark. While Lu Tingchen knows how to leverage influence, director Zhang, with decades in the entertainment business, knows it even better. The cosmetic surgery-obsessed socialite Xiao Qingying, a perennial fixture on the paid headlines, has had her reputation come crashing down. Lu Tingchen's Liren plastic surgery was inevitably caught up in the scandal. But such a storm was far from enough to shake the foundations of his business empire. He unhesitatingly dumped Xiao Qingying, going live online in a drunken state to accuse her of being a chronic cheater and a drug addict. The reason Xiao Qingying ended up like this is entirely her own fault and has absolutely nothing to do with cosmetic surgery. He played the victim online to fish for sympathy. They even received tips from some clueless viewers. Xiao Qingying bore the brunt of all the abuse alone. Xiao Qingying was completely blacklisted. This applied to both the cosmetic surgery industry and the entertainment world. She had completely lost her place. Someone as restless as her would never simply bow her head and give in. But she knew all too well what Lu Tingchen was capable of. She wouldn't dare go to Lu Tingchen. I'm the only one she dares to bother. Ever since we were kids, I've been the only one she picks on. 8. She came to me asking for money. I didn't give it to them. My parents showed up and launched a full-scale personal attack on me. Su Liang bought me an apartment in a high-end complex, which shielded me from my parents' harassment. But my parents were never going to let it go that easily. They were determined to avenge their beloved eldest daughter. They also sought to secure enough wealth for her to maintain a life of luxury. Therefore, they adopted Lu Tingchen's methods. I pretended to be drunk and went live, pouring my heart out to the viewers about how ungrateful my youngest daughter has been. Yingying just made a mistake, but she's truly good to us. She's always been the one supporting us financially. Now that Yingying has fallen on hard times, we don't feel right burdening her anymore, so we turn to our younger daughter, Xiao Qingmeng, to take care of us in our old age. But her, what a heartless ingrate. That's right. She's made it big now and looks down on her good-for-nothing parents. I didn't wait for the story to blow up online. The moment I found out they had gone live, I posted everything that happened between my father and me in that rented room online, in the most unfiltered way possible. This included my father's disapproval of me, and the constant stream of verbal abuse from my mother and sister over the phone. We might as well have never had Xiao Qingmeng. What a useless, spineless child. I asked her to put me up in a hotel, but she was too stingy to spare a few bucks. She's utterly despicable, not a bit as sweet and sensible as Ying. The parents' livestream failed to garner any sympathy from netizens. Instead, I was met with nothing but merciless ridicule from netizens. The comment section was flooded with people calling me an old fossil. At this time, Su Liang also publicly vouched for my character, sharing how I had been by their side through all the hardships before they became famous, and that my parents hadn't offered a single bit of help. Netizens these days are no fools. They wouldn't just take their parents' word for it. In this round, the parents and sister lost completely. Still unwilling to give up, they even sought out Su Liang's parents, placing Su Liang herself in the dock of moral judgment. But Su Liang had already laid bare everything that happened in her rural, son-preferring family in a previous interview. Besides, Su Liang has been dutifully supporting her parents in accordance with the court's ruling. She has done nothing wrong. It's her parents who are to blame for their own predicament. By indulging their lazy son and giving him all their money, they ended up begging on the streets. They have no one to blame but their own foolishness. Those who commit many wicked deeds are doomed to self-destruction. It was the moment Su Liang and I were accepting the highest honor in film and television at the Starlight Awards. Meanwhile, our parents, sisters, and brothers were subjected to such relentless waves of online violence that they became virtual prisoners in their own homes. Even walking down the street, they feared being targeted by cars. When dining at a restaurant, people would scald them with hot water. While sleeping at home, people would occasionally throw bricks to smash the windows. My sister was always so terrified that she would lose control of her bladder and bowels. The humiliating scenes were even recorded in public and posted online. This further deepened people's disgust towards the medical aesthetics industry. They found no peace. It was a stark contrast to their former life of happiness and luxury. My parents called me from unknown numbers to accuse and berate me. I simply said, I am not the one responsible for this. These were all my sister's own choices. She had a clear path to stardom laid out before her, but she gave it up. All she wanted was to marry into a wealthy family. But is that really so easy? Becoming a casualty of that world, that was her choice. I don't know if my parents ever passed that message on to my sister, but in the end, my sister joined the fight for justice against Liren cosmetic surgery. She and a group of women who had suffered botched surgeries stormed Liren's headquarters. They started smashing things up. In the end, they even stormed into Lu Tingchen's office, took a knife, and stabbed him. Every single strike was fatal. The news of Lu Tingchen's death made the headlines. Following that, the news of his sister being sentenced to life imprisonment was also broadcast on television. In their desperate attempt to get their daughter out, the parents resorted to bribery, only to end up behind bars themselves. Su Liang clicked her tongue repeatedly as she read the news. I wonder if that death trap of a plastic surgery clinic will finally shut down now that Lu Tingchen is dead. Just as she had predicted, the Liren hospital went bankrupt not long after. After discussing it with Su Liang, we decided to take over the Liren chain of stores. We then converted the Liren Cosmetic Surgery Hospital into a community fitness center. We also want to tell women everywhere to prioritize their health, to not measure their own sense of beauty by a single standard, and to remember that true beauty comes in many forms. The obsession with being pale, young, and thin is merely a tactic used by insecure, weak men to manipulate women they perceive as weaker. Someone who truly loves you won't mind if your skin is dark. Someone who genuinely likes you won't care if you're not super slim. Your physical and mental health are more important than anything else. Live your life well, eat well, take good care of yourself. That's all for the first story. Don't go away. The next one is even better. My brother-in-law lost over $1 million trading futures. My mother-in-law threatened to kill herself to force my husband to cover the shortfall. $1 million yuan. Even if my husband and I scrimp and save, it would take us 5 years. Eldest son, you must save your brother. You're his own flesh and blood. Mom, that's $1 million yuan. Where on earth am I supposed to get that kind of money? My mother-in-law glanced at me and said in a hushed voice, maybe you should sell your house. I let out a bitter laugh. As I recall, your younger brother has a house too. Since he can't pay off his own debts, shouldn't he sell his own place? How can that be? He's not married yet. This house is meant for when he gets married. When I got home from work that evening, I found my mother-in-law sitting on the floor. Her eyes were red and puffy. She'd clearly been crying, and she was holding a bottle that looked like it could be pesticide. My husband sat silently on the sofa. I asked, curious, Mom, what's going on? Why are you sitting on the floor? Get up, please, eldest son. If you don't agree today, I'll never get up. I might as well drink poison and be done with it. My mother-in-law started crying again. I stared at the two of them in utter confusion, completely in the dark about what could have driven my mother-in-law to such desperation. That's when I found out, my brother-in-law lost over $1 million trading futures. He took out a lot of online loans he can't repay, and now the debt collectors are at the door. $1 million? I asked, shocked. My husband nodded. It would take my husband and me 5 years of scrimping and saving to come up with $1 million, and my brother-in-law lost that much in one go. So, is my mother-in-law throwing a fit on the floor because she wants my husband to pay back that $1 million? Oldest son, you have to save your brother. You're his own flesh and blood. You promised your father you'd look after him. You can't abandon him now. My mother-in-law wailed, pounding the floor. Mom, it's $1 million. You could sell me and you still wouldn't get $1 million. Where on earth am I supposed to find that kind of money? My husband roared. My mother-in-law glanced at me and said in a hushed voice, how can you say you don't have it? I've already checked. If you sell this apartment, you'd get well over $1 million. I looked at her in surprise and asked, bewildered. As I recall, your younger son has an apartment too. Shouldn't he sell his own place to pay off the debt he can't cover? Isn't the normal train of thought that if you can't pay off your own debts, you sell your own house? How did it come to them scheming to sell someone else's property? At the very least, my mother-in-law has a place of her own. If she wants to help her son pay off his debt, shouldn't she sell her own house? I must have hit a nerve, because she shot up from the floor, rushed over to me, pointed her finger in my face, and started yelling, that's out of the question. He's not married yet. That house is meant for his future marriage. I knew you always had your eye on this apartment. Do you want him to stay single forever, never get married, so that when we're gone, this place will be yours? That's a huge accusation to drop on me. I'm reeling. How did it become about me coveting someone else's property? It's them who are dead set on selling our house. Get this straight, he's the one in debt. Selling his house to pay it off is only right and proper. There's no way in hell they're selling ours. If he can't pay, he can go to jail. Suddenly, my mother-in-law opened the bottle in her hand and raised it to her lips. Eldest son, just tell me if you agree or not. If you don't, I'll die right here in front of you today. You promised your father you'd look after your brother. Now look at what your wife is saying. She's trying to drive your brother to his grave. You can't just forget about your brother now that you have a wife. I don't want to live anymore either. I'm going to join your father and let him see how his wonderful eldest son is treating the two of us. With that, the mother-in-law threw her head back and prepared to drink. In an instant, my husband dashed over, snatched the bottle, and threw his head back to drink it. I immediately rushed over and knocked the bottle from his hand. What are you doing? Have you lost your mind? I shouted. Who knows what was in that thing? Mom, if you're going to pull a stunt like this again, at least make it convincing. And if you really want to die, do it somewhere else, not in my house. After saying that, my husband threw his mother out. It was only after she left that I found out this wasn't the first time she had tried to kill herself by drinking pesticide. When I was filling out my college applications after the national exam, she threatened me with a bottle of pesticide to make me choose a local university. She was afraid I'd leave and never come back. The second time was when I wanted to buy a house. She forced me to buy one for my younger brother first. This is the third time. I'm still quite scared. What if it really is pesticide in there? No, she wouldn't. She's too attached to life. She hasn't gotten the money yet. Why would she die? She can't bear to leave her youngest son. My husband couldn't sleep at all that night. Neither could I. We've been married for 3 years and have saved up 300,000 yuan, which we were planning to use to buy a car. I don't know if he'll use that money to help his brother. If he does, should I agree to it? And if he doesn't, would he feel like he's betraying his late father? I just hadn't expected my concerns to be unnecessary. I was resting at home on Saturday morning when someone knocked on the door. When I opened the door, I saw a man in a suit accompanied by a couple. He introduced himself as a real estate agent and said he was showing the house to clients today. I have no plans to sell this apartment. Are you sure you have the right place? I asked, confused. The agent looked up at the apartment number, checked it against his phone, and said, "Ma'am, no mistake. This is the one. It was just listed on our system yesterday. Here, let me show you." With that, he opened his phone and showed me the listing. It really is our house. I saw the listing price online as 1.3 million, with a note saying the price is negotiable for serious buyers. My vision went black, and I could barely stand. From what I know, the unit downstairs with the same layout as ours sold for 1.5 million last month. Sis, you really made the right call selling that place. The property market's in a slump right now. If you want to offload a place, you've got to slash the price. If you don't, you're just sitting on a loss. And that's not even considering how urgently you needed to sell. It all suddenly clicked. My mother-in-law must have done this. She listed the house without our permission and set the price so low, all to pay off her younger son's debts. After I kicked the agent out, I immediately called Fan Yiming. Do you have any idea that your mother listed our house for sale online? Someone just came to view it, I said urgently. I thought Fan Yiming would be as angry as I was, but he remained silent. After a long pause, he finally said, I was the one who listed it with the agency yesterday. What? You listed it? Why, you're selling the house. So you're actually planning to sell our only home to save your brother. Don't forget. Even if you sell it, you'll only get half the money. Fan Yiming still didn't say a word. I was furious. I thought it was my mother-in-law trying to secretly sell our house without our consent, but it turned out it was him all along, and he never even discussed it with me first. I thought not discussing the house sale with me was shocking enough, but what he said next utterly crushed me. Let's get a divorce. A divorce? What are you talking about? Exactly what it sounds like. With that, he hung up the phone. I stared at the disconnected phone, completely stunned. So, he's chosen to help his brother and abandon me. Is that it? Another group came to view the house in the afternoon, and someone even asked if they could sign the contract on the spot. When I first bought this place, I was sold on the great natural light and the ideal floor. I poured my heart and soul into the renovation, and having lived here for less than 2 years, it's still in pristine condition, just like new. On top of that, it's priced $200,000 below market value. Any serious buyer would recognize what a fantastic deal this is. I thought selling the house and getting a divorce were already heartbreaking enough. Then, around 4 in the afternoon, I got a bank notification on my phone about a transaction. When I saw the amount, my legs went weak. $98,000, exactly. I immediately ran into the room and, with trembling hands, yanked open the cabinet. I rummaged through it frantically, but I couldn't find the card with the $300,000. My world came crashing down. No way, no way. So Fan Yiming took the card and bought nearly 100,000 yuan worth of stuff. Just as I was about to call and confront him, he came back. I rushed up to him and shouted anxiously, what did you buy? What did you spend 100,000 on? Why didn't you tell me? Calm down. Let me explain. Fan Yiming looked completely unruffled. How could I not be frantic? 100,000. What on earth did you spend 100,000 on? What are you trying to pull here? Just calm down, let me explain it to you, step by step. Seeing him remain so composed, I too settled down, watching him with a mixture of suspicion and curiosity. My mom is dead set on me coming up with $1 million, right? I know she won't just let this go. Here's the plan. We sell the house first, then we get a divorce on paper. The entire proceeds from the sale go to you. I'll tell my mom you couldn't stand me borrowing money and being in debt anymore. So we divorced and you got the house. That way, she'll stop buying the property. Then he added, once this whole mess is over, we'll get remarried. I asked in surprise, a divorce on paper. I'd only ever heard of people getting a sham divorce to buy a house. I never imagined they'd do it to sell one. Too, that's right. When the time comes, you can have all the proceeds from the sale. I won't take a penny. That's not right. You still haven't said what you spent 100,000 on. Just then, Fan Yiming produced a bag from behind his back. Look, haven't you always complained that I didn't buy you the 3 golds for our wedding? Today, I spent 98,000 yuan to get you a bracelet and a necklace, my husband said proudly. I stared in shock at the gold bracelet and necklace before me. These 2 things cost 98,000. I plan to use the remaining 200,000 to buy gold bars from the bank later, once we have 0 savings left. Let's see how my mom can pressure me into paying off my brother's debt. Are you out of your mind? Why didn't you just give me the savings instead of buying this thing without even asking me? Honey, I did this for your own good. Cash is considered marital property and can be divided, but gold jewelry isn't. If you hold on to it, my mother won't be able to do anything about it. Besides, gold holds its value. With the way prices are rising, the 300,000 yuan worth of gold we bought might be worth 400,000 in a year. Really? I asked, half convinced and half skeptical. It seemed like there was some truth to what he said. Of course. So, we get a sham divorce now. And I get all the money and assets. Yes, the realtor called me just as I got back. Someone's willing to buy our place for 1.35 million. I've decided to sign. But the unit downstairs sold for 1.5 million just last month. 1.35 is a terrible deal, I said, displeased. I don't want to sell the house. And it's not just about the 150,000 difference. Even if we get divorced, he could leave with nothing. We don't necessarily have to sell the house. If we were to remarry later, finding another house that's both affordable and comfortable would be incredibly difficult. But Fan Yiming doesn't seem to see it that way. If you don't sell the house, even after we're divorced, my mother could very well be on your doorstep every single day. Believe me, that's a real possibility. My mother-in-law is the type who never gives up until she gets her way. But I really don't want to sell the house at such a huge loss. Isn't there any other way? Does it really have to be selling the house? I said, feeling trapped. We could also choose not to get divorced and not sell the house, but then we'd have to put up with my mother's constant interference. The choice is yours. Sure enough, my mother-in-law showed up the very next day. This time, my brother-in-law came with her. My brother-in-law walked right past me without a glance, plopped down on the sofa, and crossed his legs. I know he has a problem with me. After my brother-in-law graduated from university, he tried a few jobs, but none of them lasted. He either complained the pay was too low or the hours were too long, and said he was always getting grief from his bosses, so he just started staying at home. He'd sit in front of his computer all day, every day, saying he was working on some big project that was going to make him rich. To put it bluntly, he's a shut-in, living off his parents. He doesn't mooch off his mom, he mooches off his older brother. He's always pestering his brother for money transfers. Constantly whining about being broke or running out of cash, promising to pay it all back once he makes it big. At first, I turned a blind eye to it, but later on, I put my foot down and wouldn't let Fan Yiming send any more money to his brother. The two of us are out here killing ourselves with work, while he's living the easy life at home, never having to brave the sun or the rain. What gives? And not a single cent of the money he's borrowed has ever been paid back, sis. I heard you're against selling the house, said the younger brother-in-law, fiddling with the TV remote on the sofa. Oh, selling the house, why on earth would I do that? The moment I finished speaking, he rushed up to me, pointed a finger, and yelled, "Don't play dumb with me. My brother bought this house. What gives you the right to stop the sale? Just look at that. How can someone possibly have the nerve to act like this? So you do know your brother bought it, then what's it to you? What gives you the right to sell it?" I sneered coldly. Just because I'm his brother, I have a rightful share in this house. He promised our late father he'd look after me. Now's the time for him to make good on that promise. At that moment, the elderly woman who had been standing silently to the side finally spoke up. "Huazi, please have some compassion for a widow and her child. We have no other choice. Siqing is still young and unmarried. If he sells his house, he'll never find a wife. And where would an old woman like me live if I sold mine?" My mother-in-law spoke with such heartfelt sincerity. But they all have excuses for why their houses can't be sold. So, does that mean Fan Yiming and I are just supposed to sell ours? Mom, if Yiming and I sell our house, where are we supposed to live? Seeing that I seemed to be wavering, my mother-in-law immediately said, "That's easy. You two should rent a place first. Then buy one once you've saved up enough. You both make good money, and with housing prices being so low right now, I'm sure you'll be able to afford one again in under 3 years. Well, you could always move in with Siqing. You're always saying he doesn't eat on time and that takeout is unhealthy. This would be the perfect chance for you to cook for him, and later, when he gets married and has kids, you could help look after them. They really have it all figured out, don't they?" My mother-in-law looked at me with an awkward expression, as if she wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. "Mom, why are you even bothering to argue with her? I'm selling this house, and that's final. Before she came into our family, everything of my brother's was mine. If it weren't for her, this house would be mine too. And now here we are, wasting our breath on her." I stared at Fang Siqing, my eyes wide. How can he have the nerve to claim that everything belonging to my brother is his, whether before or after marriage? My brother's things are not his. I finally understand now what Fan Yiming said last night. If they only get a divorce without selling the house, these two will absolutely not let it go. We're here today to let you know. Start packing your things. We're selling this house. If you don't get your stuff in order, don't blame us if you can't get it after the house is sold. After they left, the more I thought about it, the angrier I got. So you want to sell this house, is that it? Fine, I'll let you have your way. When Fan Yiming came home that evening, I told him what had happened during the day and agreed to sell the house. "Didn't you say yesterday that someone was willing to pay 1.35 million for the house? Let's sell it to them. I'm going to make sure your brother doesn't see a single penny." This is infuriating, utterly shameless. I told you yesterday I was selling the house, and you didn't believe me. Well, forget about selling it for 1.35 million now. The agent told me today that someone just put an offer on another unit in our complex and signed the contract on the spot. Well, Fan Yiming looked at me, sighed, and said, the agent said someone is willing to offer 2 million, if we agree, they can pay in full. What? So we'd be losing 300,000, yeah, if we're in a hurry to sell. We have to lower the price, so now we're going to lose another 150,000, all because of one day. Suddenly, an idea came to me. Isn't the whole point just to let my mother-in-law know the house is sold, so she can't set her sights on it anymore? In that case, we don't necessarily have to actually sell it. Honey, I've got an idea. What if we have a friend buy this house from us? That way, we won't have to worry about selling it at a loss once things settle down. We can get it back. I'm a genius. It's like moving money from your left pocket to your right. No loss at all. No way. Fan Yiming flatly refused. Why not? I think it's a great idea. I asked, puzzled. What friend would be willing to do that, and not regret it later? Can you really trust him 100%? Have you even considered what we'd do if he later refused to transfer the property to us? I hadn't thought of that. After a moment's thought, I tentatively suggested. What if my parents bought it instead? Before I could even finish, Fan Yiming flew into a rage. Zhao Hua, what's the meaning of this? Why did you have to drag your parents into this? I stared at Fan Yiming in utter confusion, completely baffled by his anger. If friends can't be relied on, then parents are a sure bet. My parents would buy the place, but they wouldn't move in when we come back to live here. The house won't be a mess. What's wrong with that? I just don't want to sell the house, and I certainly don't want to sell it at a loss. What's wrong with my parents buying it? I was furious. This whole mess has nothing to do with me. If it weren't for my brother-in-law's debts and him setting his sights on our house, would we even be in this position of having to sell at a discount? And now, when I propose a compromise, Fan Yiming actually has the nerve to turn his nose up at it. Fan Yiming probably realized his tone was too harsh, because he quickly added, your parents' names are on it, and my mom and my brother know that. Once they see the property deed, they'll figure it out immediately. It's a huge headache. What if they stop bothering us and start pestering your parents instead? I don't want to cause them any more trouble. I'm already stressed enough as it is. So what do you suggest we do? I snapped. Just sell it to the buyer offering 2 million. It's a full cash payment, so we skip the whole bank approval wait. I said nothing. After a moment, I asked, are you sure? Fan Yiming nodded. Then go ahead and sell it. The next evening after work, the agent brought someone over. The prospective buyer was a young man. He was strutting around the house like he owned the place. You're not taking any of this stuff with you, right? We're definitely taking the appliances, I said irritably. That's not right. Wasn't the deal that you only take your personal belongings and leave everything else? I looked at Fan Yiming in surprise. Does 2 million include everything in the house? I can't agree to that. 2 million is already a very low price. The unit downstairs sold for 5 million just last month. Now you're asking us to leave everything behind. That's impossible. The young man glanced at me and said, all right then. Since we can't reach an agreement, I'm out. You go find someone who'll give you 5 million. With that, he turned to leave. Fan Yiming quickly grabbed his arm to stop him. We'll sell. You can have it all. It's no use to us anyway. After saying this, Fan Yiming pulled me aside. We're renting, so these things are useless to us. Where would we even put them? That's another problem. Put them at my parents' place. I bought all these appliances and soft furnishings myself. That's no different from just giving them away for free. I don't agree. Fan Yiming grew agitated. Why can't you see? You'll get the full 2 million from the house sale. You can buy whatever you want then. These things aren't even worth 20,000 on the second-hand market now. Why create more trouble over a measly 20 grand? I just don't get it. What's the difference between this and just giving it away? I don't agree. If you're going to squander it like this, I'd rather we sell the house at the normal market price for 5 million and use that to pay off your brother's debt. I'm staying at my parents' place tonight. With that, I left. I sat alone in the neighborhood playground for a long time. It's a big space with lots of play equipment for kids. I used to imagine bringing my own child here one day. I just never expected things to change so fast. I haven't even gotten pregnant yet. And now I have to sell the house. Just as I was about to head back to have a serious talk with Fan Yiming, I spotted my brother-in-law. There was a girl standing next to him, quite stylish. My curiosity was piqued. I immediately pulled out my phone and snapped a few pictures to show Fan Yiming later. How on earth does a shut-in like his brother even meet women? They were chatting and laughing, and the brother-in-law even smoothed the girl's hair a few times. Is that his girlfriend? What poor girl is that unlucky? I ended up with a lazy, good-for-nothing man who's even in debt. Wait, what are they doing in this neighborhood? Oh, never mind, it's none of my business, my own life is a mess and I can't even figure that out. Just then, I saw the girl happily waving at someone, so they were waiting for someone. No wonder they came to my complex. When I finally saw who it was, I was stunned. Wasn't that the young man who just came to view my house? I rubbed my eyes and looked harder. Yes, it was definitely him. How on earth do they know each other? A sudden thought struck me. What if this was all an act? It's only been a week since I found out my brother-in-law was $1 million in debt, and so much has happened already, selling the house, even a sham divorce. But there's one thing I just can't figure out. Is Fan Yiming selling the house to pay off his brother's debt? Or is there another reason? If he's selling it to pay off his brother's debts, why set the price so low? What if it's for something else? What's that all about? Or is all of this just a coincidence? Does Fan Yiming not know that this young man is acquainted with his brother? But I was proven wrong almost immediately. I saw Fan Yiming coming downstairs. He stood at the foot of the building and started making a call. Then my phone rang, and I answered it right away. Honey, where are you? Did you go to your parents' place? Can I come pick you up? When I didn't respond, he added, I just spoke with them. And they're willing to pay an extra $20,000 for the soft furnishings. How impressive. He went ahead and closed the deal without me. Oh, really, Fan Yiming? If you think it's a good deal, then go ahead and sell it. Well, honey, where are you? Should I come pick you up? I'm at my mom's place. I won't be back tonight. With that, I hung up the phone. As soon as Fan Yiming ended the call, he headed out of the residential complex. Was he coming to find me? Soon after, I saw Fan Yiming get into a car. The driver was the young man who had been viewing the apartment earlier. Damn it, they know each other. I stood there for a long time, thinking, and then sent Fan Yiming a text message. We're not selling the house after all. Let your mother and brother come bother us then. 22 million is too much of a loss. My phone rang the moment I sent the text. Fan Yiming asked anxiously, Honey, why are we not selling the house again? We'll never have a moment's peace if we don't. My brother and my mom will be pestering us every single day. Ha, how hypocritical can you be, saying that while sitting right next to your own brother in the car. Now I'm convinced this whole thing is a scam, just a ploy to trick me into selling the house. Lost $1 million trading futures. That's just what they say. I've never actually seen it myself, so what if they bother me? If it means I don't have to sell my house at a 300,000 loss, I'll take the harassment. 300 grand isn't exactly easy to come by. There was no response from the other side. After a long silence, Fan Yiming said, Can't you try to see things from my perspective? I don't want to be harassed by them anymore. I've had enough. Really, if you've had enough, how come you can still share a car with them? If you really want to end the harassment, we could sell the house, move to another city, and make sure your mother and brother can't find us. We wouldn't even need to get a divorce. How could we possibly do that? They're my mother and my brother. I can't just abandon them. I see. I hung up before he could finish. I was doing the math in my head. When we bought the house, the down payment was 500,000. Fan Yiming contributed 300,000. I put in 200,000, and we took out a 200,000 mortgage, which we paid off last year. Let's split the renovation costs down the middle. He'll cover the hard finishes, and I'll handle the soft furnishings. If we have a falling out and sell the house, the most I'd get is half the proceeds. As for the savings, after excluding the gold that Fan Yiming bought, there's still 200,000 in the account. Should we split that 50-50? Suddenly, something occurred to me. Gold jewelry. I quickly opened my phone and took a closer look at the photo I had just secretly taken. The gold bracelet on the woman next to my brother-in-law was exactly the same as the one Fan Yiming bought. No wonder it looked so familiar when I was taking the picture. Suddenly, a terrible thought crossed my mind. I rushed home immediately and took out the gold bracelet and necklace that Fan Yiming had bought. Could these be fake? I quickly checked for the hallmark inside. Phew, thank goodness, it was there. But when I found a small magnet, it stuck firmly to the gold and wouldn't budge. It's fake. So he said he spent 98,000 on a bracelet and necklace for me, but they're actually counterfeit. The real ones are on someone else. Why would you do this to me? What on earth is the reason? This is so infuriating. Damn it. After all the trust one placed in you, this is how you deceive me. Fine, you win. In that case, don't blame me for what happens next. An hour later, I was standing in the largest jewelry store in the city center. The dazzling array of gold in the store was overwhelming. I couldn't bring myself to buy any when the price spiked before my wedding, and now it's even more expensive. It just hit me. If you're not willing to spend on yourself, you'll never have it. Just as I was picking up the gold, Fan Yiming called me. Honey, I've got some great news. The young man interested in our house really likes it. He's upped his offer to 3 million. But he wants us to sign the contract tomorrow. Oh, really, madam, what do you think of this one? The sales assistant nearby brought over a bracelet. Honey, what's that noise? Where are you? Are you shopping? Fan Yiming asked cautiously. Yes, I'm buying gold. Didn't you say you were worried your mother would harass us? I've decided to spend the remaining 200,000 on gold. That way, if she comes asking for money, we won't have any. What? How dare you? Where are you? I'm coming right now. I'm warning you. That's our shared capital. If you dare to put it all into gold, just you try. Fan Yiming roared over the phone. But you didn't tell me last time you bought gold either, I said, feigning innocence. How is that the same thing? Fan Yiming's voice grew even louder. What's the big difference? Fine, you can keep the one you bought last time. I'll keep the one I'm buying now. Happy, Zhao Hua. I'm telling you, if you dare buy gold, we're getting a divorce immediately. Fine. With that, I hung up the phone. Couldn't have asked for more. This time, I treated myself to a real gold bracelet and necklace, spending 110,000, and finally bought that bucket bag I'd been dreaming of. When I got home that evening, Fan Yiming saw the things in my hand, and his face immediately fell. You actually bought it, honey. I only bought it because I was afraid your mom and brother would pressure you for a loan later. There's still tens of thousands left in the card. If they really come asking for money, we can just give them the card, I said, feigning innocence. Besides, didn't you say last time we should use the remaining 200,000 to buy gold bars? It's basically the same thing, just gold bars exchanged for gold jewelry. Fan Yiming remained silent. I saw his fists clenched tightly, and then suddenly, he laughed. Darling, you really think of everything, now that we've handled our savings. It's just this house left. I really think 3 million is a good price to sell for, and it's a full cash payment too, so that's what this was about. They were buttering me up to sell the house. Just then, my phone rang. I looked and saw it was a text message. It contained a photo. Is your brother-in-law getting married? It was from my mom. Is that your brother-in-law in this wedding photo? I took a closer look. They really airbrushed him to look presentable, but who else could it be? And isn't that the girl who was with him this afternoon? Suddenly, it all clicked about the fake gold. Is it possible that his younger brother is getting married, and the bride's family requested the 3 golds? Maybe Fan Yiming paid for it on his brother's behalf. With his mother's personality, there's no way she'd fork out that much money for the bride's gold. Who else would he turn to but Fan Yiming? But because the amount was so large and hard to explain, he got a fake set to trick me. I stared at Fan Yiming standing before me. He had put on such a convincing act earlier, telling his mother to get lost, claiming he wanted no part of their harassment, only to turn around and use our money to buy the 3 golds for his brother. If that's the case, then why on earth is he in such a rush to sell the house, and at such a low price? Honey, what's wrong? Who was that? I immediately turned my phone off. It's nothing. Just work stuff, actually. I was just about to tell you something that'll make your day. A friend of mine who's also in real estate told me he has a client who's really keen on buying a unit exactly like ours in our complex. He says we can definitely get 4 million for this place, and we could have the papers signed in a couple of days. I watched the play of emotions on Fan Yiming's face, shock, then panic, settling into an awkward unease. Can they pay in full, too? Absolutely. The elderly couple have had the money ready for their son's place for ages. Honestly, I really didn't like that young guy who came to view it this afternoon. The way he looked so unimpressed with our home. If he bought it, he'd never appreciate it. I don't want to sell it to him. Fan Yiming gave an awkward laugh and said, there's such a thing as first come, first served, isn't there? We already agreed with them. I never agreed to anything. And besides, no contract was signed. If they're offering 4 million, I'm not about to turn down an extra 100 grand just to sign for 3 million. Seeing Fan Yiming's flustered and defeated look made me so damn happy. But who would have thought? The very next day, Fan Yiming told me they were willing to match the offer of 4 million. Really? Fan Yiming nodded. What should I do? My friend is waiting for my reply. Honey, that young man is serious about buying it. Look, he keeps raising his offer. We shouldn't string him along. I thought for a moment and said, all right, let's be clear. We sign the contract and pay the deposit tomorrow. Not a penny less than 4 million. Absolutely. The next day, when I arrived at the real estate agency, the young man buying the apartment was already there. He saw me, looked me up and down with utter contempt, and spat on the ground. Pa, I didn't even get angry. When it came time to sign, I feigned surprise and said, honey, this amount doesn't seem right." The young man sprang to his feet. "What do you mean it's not right? It's clearly 1/4 million. I feigned surprise, looked at him, and said to Fan Yiming, "Honey, last night you said they were willing to pay 1/5 million, didn't you? That's why I came to sign today." "How did it become 1/4 million? 1/5 million, you might as well go rob a bank," the young man said, furious. "Zhao Hua, stop making a scene. When did I ever say 1/5 million? I said 1/4 million. Okay, stop this nonsense and sign the papers already." Fan Yiming was getting impatient too. "But you clearly said 1/5 million last night. You said you tricked them by claiming we had another higher offer, to make the property seem in high demand. They panicked and raised their price to 1/5 million. You even told me to praise you for being clever. If you hadn't deceived him, how would he have kept raising the price?" I said, feigning innocence. The young man blew his top the moment I said that. "So it's you, Fan Yiming. All this time, you've been playing me for a fool." No wonder the price kept creeping up from 120 to 122, to 130, to 140. "It was all you're doing. You just wait. I'm calling off the house purchase, and I'll tell my sister to get an abortion." I feigned shock and asked, "What sister? What child?" "Fan Yiming, are you cheating on me?" "So that's it, Fan Yiming. You've been seeing someone behind my back, haven't you? Is this her little brother?" I knew there was a reason you were so desperate to sell the house to him. "This isn't about selling a house at all, is it? You're trying to make me move out so your mistress can move in." "Who are you calling a mistress? Let me make this clear. My sister married his brother." "Watch your mouth." By the time I processed what was happening, a crowd of onlookers had gathered around us. Fan Yiming glanced at me and left. After getting home, I started packing my bags. After being betrayed by the person I share a bed with, am I supposed to stay and have his children instead of divorcing him? "Zhao Hua, what on earth are you doing?" Fan Yiming said impatiently. "Fan Yiming, get this straight. Do you think I can't lose my mind? You're lying to me. You conspired with an outsider to trick me into selling the house." I shouted. "How did I trick you? I told you I'd give you every last penny from the house sale. Do you dare to say you've been completely above board in this whole house selling business, that you haven't deceived me in the slightest?" Fan Yiming didn't speak. It was a long time before he finally said, "My brother is getting married, the girl is pregnant, and my mom is desperate to have a grandchild. What does that have to do with me? Her family will only agree to the marriage if they buy an apartment for her brother. Why can't you be more understanding? We're both women." I was utterly shocked. "So you're just planning to give him our apartment? Your brother gets married, and we're supposed to gift a house to his brother-in-law for free. You want me to be understanding, but how on earth am I supposed to do that?" "No, that's not it. Their family just really likes our specific unit type in this complex, but they only have 1/2 million. They're not asking for a freebie, they are offering to pay." At that moment, everything became crystal clear to me. "So you're selling our place at a discount, using it as a dowry gift to score points for your brother. But I own half of this house to begin with. I'm giving you all the money from the sale, and you're still coming out ahead. You're not losing anything." Fan Yiming suddenly lost his temper. "You just have to make a scene. All this fuss is over 300,000 yuan. We could earn that back in 2 years, tops. I just don't get it. Besides, we only paid 700,000 for this place, and now we're selling it for 1/2 million. That's a profit. My brother is finally getting married. If I, as his older brother, don't help him, who will? You're his sister-in-law. How can you not understand that?" Looking at Fan Yiming's furious expression, I couldn't help but find it amusing. "So now we're blaming the victim, so him lying and deceiving me is suddenly my fault." Fan Yiming, you need to understand this clearly. You've been dishonest in our marriage, conspiring with an outsider to deceive me. Even if the house sells for 1/2 million, would you really give it all to me? Later on, wouldn't you just pressure me to use that money to buy a house under some pretense? He's your brother, not mine. If you want to support your brother, don't drag me into it. If you don't want to hand it over, I certainly won't come asking you for it. Ha, a man's words are a devil's lies. You think I'd believe you? I said with a cold laugh. What gives you the right not to believe me? In all these years, what else have I ever lied to you about? Fine. So you're going to be stubborn about this? Huh. I rushed into the room and threw the fake gold he bought right in his face. Who exactly are you trying to fool with this fake gold? Fan Yiming probably never expected that I knew the gold was fake, and he was left speechless for a moment. Finally, he said, if you hadn't found out, I was planning to make it up to you once I had the money. Can you believe it? Even now, he still has the nerve to say that. You bought gold for your brother's girlfriend without a thought for me, and you expect me to believe you'll ever earn enough to buy me anything. Humph. One last thing. Is it true your brother owes $1 million? Fan Yiming said nothing. Fine, fine, fine. The whole thing was an act. They were just putting on a show to trick me into selling my house at a low price. That move is just unbelievable. Before I left, I told Fan Yiming that the house would be sold, but only at the market price, and I'm getting a divorce. You think you can drag me down to support your deadbeat brother? Not a chance. We split the assets 50-50. What about the gold you bought? How do we split that? Don't forget. Even though you bought fakes, the money you spent was real. 2 weeks later, the house was sold for $1.55 million. Fan Yiming and I split it 50-50. As for the original $300,000 in savings, after I bought the gold handbag, $60,000 was left, and we split that too. The division of assets was crystal clear, to avoid any messy disputes down the line. 1 month later, Fan Yiming and I officially divorced. I remembered that saying I saw online, never marry a man with a brother. It really does make sense. That's all for today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave a comment below. See you in the next video.